During class, Winnie was a little bored, so she started checking the latest news. Jennifer was on top of the hot search list, but now it was Ben's statement. After class, Winnie got a call from Bob. "Winnie, I'm so pissed off. I've never seen such a shameless person in my life. You see, Ben's team has posted a statement saying that he didn't help you in the time last night because his assistant didn't let him. They said that when he tried to help, Jeffrey had already rushed to your table. They also said that it was he who suggested the production team cast Mr. Julio and Harry out. Even if that's real, how can that kind of belated action possibly help you?" Winnie was stunned. Didn't Ben just explain this to her over text? She didn't think much about it. She hadn't expected his fans to post it online. She didn't know how she felt about the matter. She felt a little repulsed. She felt as if she'd been enjoying some salmon before someone told her that it was contaminated with parasites. Bob said agitatedly, "I saw it clearly for myself. His assistant didn't even hold him back. He had countless opportunities to step forward, but he didn't. Is there a point in him speaking up about this only when Director Woods and Jennifer quit the project?" "Forget it." Winnie was calm. She was surprised by her own reaction. "He can say whatever he wants." Bob said, "You have a soft heart." "If not, what will I do? Argue with him online? He would hire an entire online army to drown me." Winnie sighed. "I think we should stay the same as before and stay out of gossip. Look, there were so many celebrities there last night, yet nobody said anything about him." Bob sighed. "That's true." After school, the bodyguard was waiting for her. He was there to escort her home because of the media attention she was receiving due to the events from the night before. When she walked past the sheltered walkway, she saw Jeffrey sitting on the steps, surrounded by a bunch of girls who were there to confess to him. She frowned. There were so many girls. Thank goodness Austin was there to block them in case Jeffrey's arm got hurt. When she was back at the apartment, Winnie waited about 10 minutes before Jeffrey emerged from the elevator. Winnie looked at his hands. He wasn't carrying anything. There was just a simple black backpack on his back. "What are you looking at?" Jeffrey raised his brows when he caught her stare. "Nothing. I saw a lot of girls gifting you with cards and things on my way back. Why didn't you accept any of them?" Winnie looked away quickly. "Yeah, there were a lot of them. What are you planning to give me?" Jeffrey walked over to her slowly. Winnie was stunned. It seemed like she wasn't being nice. He'd saved her and she hadn't even brought him any fruit. "You are really too much," Jeffrey complained. "All those people who have nothing to do with me are gifting me things. You haven't gotten me anything." Winnie pouted. "There are so many girls gifting you gifts. You don't need mine." "Who says?" Jeffrey whispered in her ear. "I need it. I don't care for all of their gifts. I only want yours." Winnie's ears were red and hot and she scuttled further away. She felt warmed by his words and she asked, "What do you want then?" "I want..." Jeffrey looked at her and smiled. "You." Winnie blushed. "You hooligan." She pushed him away and tried to walk off, but Jeffrey grabbed onto her. "I'm just joking. I want a belt." Winnie wasn't foolish. She knew that gifting ties and belts meant that the girl was trying to tie down the guy forever. "Must it be a belt?" Winnie frowned. "It can be a tie as well." Jeffrey grinned. Could he be more obvious? "All right," she finally said as she tucked her hair behind her ear. "Open the door. I'll cook for you. I'm going to New York to record a show." New York is good. You can find many shops selling belts there." Jeffrey nodded his head in jest. After dinner, as Winnie prepared to leave, Jeffrey gave her a key. "This is..." she murmured. "The key to my apartment," Jeffrey said. "With this key, you can open my door and come into my apartment to cook for me when I'm not at home, so you don't need to wait outside like earlier today." "This is inappropriate. I can just call you before I come over." Winnie looked at the key, feeling pressed. "Take it. It'll be yours sooner or later." Jeffrey put the key into her pocket. Winnie blushed when she heard that. "It's not like that. I haven't accepted you, remember?" "Whether you accept me or not, I have decided that I want you." Jeffrey responded, bossy and determined. Winnie's heart thumped. She quickly returned to her apartment and packed her things. Jeffrey walked her downstairs. Before she left, Jeffrey stood under the streetlight and looked at her, feeling so reluctant to part with her. It was the first time he'd felt that way about someone leaving. Jeffrey, go and stay with your mom for the weekend. I'll try to come home by Sunday night. All right. I'll be waiting for you. Jeffrey didn't say much. Those simple words he said lingered in Winnie's mind on her ride to the airport. She had once said the same thing to Ben. She had spent so many years waiting for him. Had she now finally met a boy who was willing to wait for her? Perhaps she shouldn't be so afraid of that. Jeffrey was right. Was she going to let constantly waiting for Ben become the only thing that she had done in her best years? She looked out the window. The car was driving on a street through the college town. Young couples held hands, walked together on the street, or sat together in coffee shops. The girls were smiling sweetly at their boyfriends. Bob sighed. I miss my college years. These boys and girls remind me of my college boyfriends. Winnie looked at him and asked, You're single, right? Why did you break up with your ex? We graduated from college and chose different lives. Bob smiled. I had 3 relationships during college. All great. We got together because we liked each other. Winnie laughed. I didn't know about that side of you. You've been working with me for over a year, but never had a new boyfriend. Is this job keeping you too busy? That's part of the reason. Bob sighed. Winnie chuckled. Sometimes I really envy you. Bob glanced at her and continued. Youth. That's something you can never have twice. Winnie looked outside the window and fell into silence. At 11 o'clock that night, the plane landed at the Hong Kong airport. Winnie switched on her phone and saw Jeffrey's message. Text me when you land and let me know you're safe. Winnie felt warm-hearted. She put the phone back into her purse. After a short walk, she took the phone back out and sent him a few words. I've arrived at HK. Jeffrey immediately called her and said, Give me your address. Why? Winnie gave a start. You aren't coming to visit me, are you? No, I didn't even get my pass to Hong Kong yet. Besides, I'm a wounded man. Jeffrey muttered and said, I understand how you feel. After all, boys always travel far away across the sea to see their girls in many movies. Winnie smiled and shook her head. Then she placed the Phoenix back in her pocket. Bob, we don't have any events to attend tomorrow night. Let's go shopping, Winnie said. Bob nodded but was surprised to hear that, when he rarely suggested going shopping. The next day, Winnie took part in the recording of a local Hong Kong show. It was about 8 p.m. when she finished. The nightlife in New York was rich. Winnie put on a mask before walking to a large shopping mall with Bob. Once inside, they found some paparazzi following them. Getting rid of them was impossible, but she had no time to shop the next day. Since Jeffrey helped me, he wanted me to buy him a belt, but there's paparazzi following us, Winnie said. Let's pretend that it's you who are shopping for a man's belt and I'm only keeping you company. All right, Bob laughed and said. His purpose is pretty clear. Winnie's cheeks turned red. She said, He insisted. I just couldn't say no. That's probably a lie, Bob thought, but he still agreed with Winnie's plan. They walked into Hermes. Winnie pretended to follow behind Bob and looked around. They finally chose a brown belt. The next day, there was still news about Winnie shopping for a man's belt. The article was titled, Winnie carefully chose a belt, probably for her boyfriend. People started guessing who her boyfriend was. Any male star with whom she had worked was mentioned. Some said that Jeffrey won Winnie's heart by helping her during a critical situation, so she was buying the belt for him. Winnie's team quickly published a statement to explain that she was only giving suggestions for her assistant, who had been shopping for his boyfriend. The news was soon forgotten by most people, but not Jeffrey. In his mother's villa, he read the news and smiled. Melissa passed by and happened to see a smile. She was surprised and asked, My son, what are you reading? Why are you smiling so happily? Are you okay? Jeffrey immediately dropped his phone, stood up, and blandly said, Nothing. Let's have lunch. I'll head back to my apartment afterward. Would it kill you to stay here for the night? Melissa asked. You can't even make dinner by yourself. I'll order takeout, Jeffrey said as he headed upstairs. Melissa frowned as she watched him walk upstairs before heading into the kitchen. Kenneth was cutting vegetables. Seeing her come in, he grinned and asked, "What were you and Jeffrey talking about?" "Do you think he's being a little weird?" Melissa asked. "He's talking about getting back to his apartment all the time as if he had left his heart there." Kenneth paused briefly and said, "I think it's normal. 20-year-old boy can be rebellious. They don't like spending time with their parents. You know, the kid's gonna get married someday. We're getting old. We should keep each other company. Isn't that right? When do you think we can get married?" "Piss off!" Melissa rolled her eyes. She knew she shouldn't talk to him about it. It was 1 a.m. when Winnie got out of the van outside her apartment. She was exhausted. As she made her way up to her building, she saw someone sitting on a stone stool. The man was wearing a brown wind coat. His legs were stretched and his head was dropped. It seemed like he was falling asleep. Winnie recognized him at first glance. She unwittingly slowed down and walked up to him. She said gently, "Jeffrey?" Jeffrey sprung up once he heard her voice. "You came back," he said with a drowsy voice. It was a simple greeting. Winnie was shocked to see his tired expression. She was touched. "Were you waiting for me?" she asked. "Of course. I thought you said that you were going to get back at 11. It's so late now." Jeffrey yawned and walked forward to fetch her luggage. It was a simple gesture, but Winnie noticed it. Her heart fluttered. He had caused ripples in her still heart. It was comforting to be taken care of by someone. She recalled her relationship with Ben. They had hardly seen each other in 3 years. They were only calling or video chatting with one another. It was different from this. She now felt comforted, like a lost traveler who had finally found a resting place. She started reflecting and wondered if this was a real relationship. Her relationship with Ben ended when he went abroad. "The flight was delayed," Winnie finally answered. "I thought I told you not to wait up. You should focus on recovering. It's getting colder, especially at night." Jeffrey interrupted her and said, "But I missed you." Winnie was stunned. It was a chilly night, but her heart was warm. "Where's my belt?" Jeffrey suddenly asked with a smile. "Who said I was going to buy you a belt?" Winnie glared at him. "Some paparazzi caught you going into a men's boutique. I know what's going on here." Jeffrey stepped closer to her. "If you weren't buying it for me, then you really need to explain yourself. How could you not buy a belt for me even after walking into a men's store? I would have to spank you." He reached out for her. Winnie blushed as she stepped backward and said, I bought it. It's in the luggage." "Good." Jeffrey placed his hand on her hand. Winnie felt as if she was a pet, and she said, "I haven't washed my hair in 3 days." "It's okay. I didn't wash my hands after I relieved myself just now," he said. After they entered the apartment, Winnie opened her luggage, retrieved a paper box, and passed it to him. Jeffrey opened it. It was a brown belt from Hermes that was suitable for someone his age. "What do you think?" Winnie tentatively asked. It's nice and expensive." Jeffrey nodded his head and said, "I want to make you my sugar mommy." Winnie didn't know what to say. This guy had no shame. Jeffrey lowered his head to undo his belt. "Can you try it on at home?" Winnie asked. She was embarrassed that a man was undoing his belt in front of her. It was a tempting sight. She quickly turned to walk to the kitchen to pour herself some water. Jeffrey followed behind her and said, "I only have one good hand, so I can't try it on myself. Can you?" It was 1 a.m. when Winnie got out of the van outside her apartment. She was exhausted. As she made her way up to her building, She saw someone sitting on a stone stool. The man was wearing a brown wind coat. His legs were stretched and his head was dropped. It seemed like he was falling asleep. Winnie recognized him at first glance. She unwittingly slowed down and walked up to him. She said gently, "Jeffrey?" Jeffrey sprung up once he heard her voice.
"You came back,"
he said with a drowsy voice. It was a simple greeting. Winnie was shocked to see his tired expression. She was touched. "Were you waiting for me?" she asked.
"Of course. I thought you said that you were going to get back at 11. It's so late now."
Jeffrey yawned and walked forward to fetch her luggage. It was a simple gesture, but Winnie noticed it. Her heart fluttered. He had caused ripples in her still heart. It was comforting to be taken care of by someone. She recalled her relationship with Ben. They had hardly seen each other in 3 years. They were only calling or video chatting with one another. It was different from this. She now felt comforted, like a lost traveler who had finally found a resting place. She started reflecting and wondered if this was a real relationship. Her relationship with Ben ended when he went abroad. "The flight was delayed," Winnie finally answered. "I thought I told you not to wait up. You should focus on recovering. It's getting colder, especially at night." Jeffrey interrupted her and said,
"But I missed you."
Winnie was stunned. It was a chilly night, but her heart was warm.
"Where's my belt?"
Jeffrey suddenly asked with a smile. "Who said I was going to buy you a belt?" Winnie glared at him.
"Some paparazzi caught you going into a men's boutique. I know what's going on here."
Jeffrey stepped closer to her.
"If you weren't buying it for me, then you really need to explain yourself. How could you not buy a belt for me even after walking into a men's store? I would have to spank you."
He reached out for her. Winnie blushed as she stepped backward and said, I bought it. It's in the luggage."
"Good."
Jeffrey placed his hand on her hand. Winnie felt as if she was a pet, and she said, "I haven't washed my hair in 3 days."
"It's okay. I didn't wash my hands after I relieved myself just now,"
he said. After they entered the apartment, Winnie opened her luggage, retrieved a paper box, and passed it to him. Jeffrey opened it. It was a brown belt from Hermes that was suitable for someone his age. "What do you think?" Winnie tentatively asked.
It's nice and expensive."
Jeffrey nodded his head and said,
"I want to make you my sugar mommy."
Winnie didn't know what to say. This guy had no shame. Jeffrey lowered his head to undo his belt. "Can you try it on at home?" Winnie asked. She was embarrassed that a man was undoing his belt in front of her. It was a tempting sight. She quickly turned to walk to the kitchen to pour herself some water. Jeffrey followed behind her and said,
"I only have one good hand, so I can't try it on myself. Can you help me?"
He stood behind her. Winnie hesitated before putting down her glass. His belt was already undone, so she only needed to pull it out. It was the first time she had seen a men's belt undone. She was flustered as if his fly was unzipped. Her head was buzzing as she pulled the old belt off and threaded the new belt. She walked around him since she didn't want to encircle her arms around him. When she ended up in front of him again to secure the belt, she lowered her head in embarrassment, her head almost touching his chest. Winnie spent a while working on the belt but failed. She almost wanted to cry. She only paid attention to the style when she bought it. She didn't know how to use the buckle on it. At last, she raised her head and embarrassedly asked, "Do you know how this works?"
"Silly, it's the easiest kind,"
Jeffrey replied with a gentle voice.
"How can you not know how to use this?"
"I've never taken off any man's pants, so how am I supposed to know?" Winnie argued. Jeffrey faintly smiled. He lowered his head and gently held one of her hands with his left hand. Winnie shivered slightly and said, "Do it yourself. Why are you holding my hand?"
"Don't move,"
Jeffrey whispered in her ear.
"See, the belt goes through here. You put it under the buckle so you couldn't get it right. Do you understand?"
Winnie was a little confused. She hadn't been listening to him carefully. She couldn't focus when he whispered in her ear.
"I'm teaching you how to do this, yet you're distracted. What were you thinking about?"
Jeffrey pretended not to see her red ear. Winnie bit her lip and stayed silent.
"I'm going to teach you one more time.
Jeffrey said. He repeated the instructions. This time, Winnie finally focused and learned how to do it. I got it, Winnie said as she buckled it. It suits you.
Unbuckle it,
Jeffrey said. Winnie paused briefly. Some thoughts popped up in her mind, but she believed that she was overthinking. Perhaps he just wanted to switch to his old belt. She lowered her head and unbuckled the belt. Before she pulled the belt out, Jeffrey abruptly held her hands and asked in a deep voice,
Do you know how to unbuckle a belt now? You'll be buckling all my belts in the future.
Winnie felt as if her hands and brain were suddenly set on fire. She raised her head but didn't notice that Jeffrey's head was very close to hers. She accidentally pressed her lips against his lower lip. They looked each other in the eyes. Winnie didn't know what kind of look she had on her face, but his eyes were as deep as the starry night. She started breathing quickly as Jeffrey deeply kissed her. She flinched, but Jeffrey put an arm around her waist and whispered, You can't kiss me and run away. No, that was an accident, Winnie stuttered.
I don't care. You'll make it up to me by letting me kiss you back.
Jeffrey moved closer to her. You've already kissed me a couple of times, Winnie complained in a low voice. She had shrunk to the edge of the kitchen range. There was no more space behind her.
All right, I'll let you kiss me back,
Jeffrey said. He had a wicked smile as he leaned forward and kissed her. Winnie gave a muffled moan. Before she could react, Jeffrey lifted her up and put her on the kitchen range with one hand. His lips were pressed tightly against hers the whole time. Sitting on the kitchen range, she only needed to raise her head slightly so he didn't have to bend so deep. They were both able to enjoy the kiss completely. It wasn't Jeffrey's first kiss. He was getting better and better at kissing. That long and deep kiss even made Winnie curl her toes. Jeffrey put her soft arms around his neck. He slowly parted his lips from hers and began to kiss her neck. He inched his way to her earlobe. Winnie shivered intensely. It was late at night. She felt as if she was enchanted by him. She wanted to resist and push him away. When his lips touched hers again, she couldn't help but to respond. When she started to respond, the kiss became a little different. Jeffrey's body violently stiffened. He kissed her even harder. He kissed her until she ran out of breath. He finally stopped and pulled her into his embrace. Winnie leaned against his shoulders. Her head was buzzing, but she was fully aware of what had just happened. She wanted to push him away. If she did, she would meet his gaze and wouldn't know what to do. She always thought herself to be calm and collected. For some reason, every time she met him, she was pulled into his rhythm. Jeffrey turned around and kissed her hair. He softly said,
Winnie,
let's date. Winnie's body shook. She hurriedly left his shoulder. Looking at her blushing face, he didn't quite know what to do.
I've already decided.
Jeffrey's gaze was firm as he said,
Don't deny your heart anymore. I can't say how much you like me, but you do feel something for me, don't you? If not, why didn't you push me away just now? You also responded.
Stop talking, Winnie said as she blocked his mouth with her hand. After she did, she realized how intimate the gesture was and wanted to leave. Jeffrey tugged her back into his embrace. He hugged her tightly and lowered his eyes to look at her.
I like you. I like you very much,
he said. Winnie was stunned. She held his gaze for a while before slightly nodding, allowing her blush to spread across her face. I agree to try dating you, but our relationship must be kept secret, she said. Let's not tell anyone, all right? First, you're April's younger brother, so I feel a little embarrassed. Also, our relationship isn't stable yet. If other people come into the equation so early on, I'm afraid that the people involved might feel awkward in the future.
We won't separate.
Jeffrey immediately frowned and objected.
I know very clearly that I'm a devoted man. You're also easy to get along with. Even if you're not, I can tolerate your temper.
Winnie opened her mouth, but she didn't know what to say. Perhaps it was because she had been hurt once that her heart lacked a sense of security. Relationship started as a hopeful new journey. Whether they could pass the test of time was always unknown. She didn't want to overthink it now. She just wanted to quietly enjoy the present.
All right, it's late, so you should get to bed.
Jeffrey lowered his head and gently kissed her forehead.
I'll buy breakfast for you tomorrow morning. You can sleep in.
With your injuries, don't go out to buy breakfast anymore. Winnie paused for a moment and said, I'll make breakfast for you instead.
I don't want to tire you out,
Jeffrey replied. Winnie pouted and said, In the past, I used to come home at midnight too, and you still forced me to cook porridge for you. Why didn't you show concern then? Jeffrey's lips curved as he replied,
I didn't know that I had fallen for you back then. Whether you were tired or not didn't concern me.
Winnie thought, why would this kind of person exist? He's too extreme. All right, just leave. She unhappily started to chase him out.
There used to be classmates. We should be friends. Come and visit my family at New Year. I'm not interested,
Jeffrey said as he lowered his head and ate his food with a spoon using his left hand.
Austin regretted coming over. Guys, please forgive him. He doesn't mean it. I understand. Ryan nodded. He's cold on the outside, but warm on the inside. He punched Mr. Julio right in the face. That's how I know he's a righteous person. Isn't that right, Winnie?
Yeah, I really appreciate him, Winnie said. She glanced at Jeffrey while he clumsily ate with a spoon. Austin also noticed it and hurriedly picked up some food for Jeffrey. Ryan turned and continued talking to Winnie.
What do you think about my idea? I think it's going to be interesting.
I need to talk to my manager about it, Winnie nodded and said. But I think it'll be good. Jeffrey frowned slightly and shoved Austin under the table.
What are you guys talking about?
Austin hurriedly asked. Ryan invited me to perform at Rosewood City TV station on Christmas Eve. He wants me to sing with him, Winnie said.
I'm not very good at singing, so I asked her for a favor. She's the only singer I know,
Ryan said with a laugh. Jeffrey nodded and said,
Since you know you're not good at singing, you shouldn't perform. Spare the audience and don't ruin their Christmas. Jeffrey!
Austin noticed Ryan's face darken, so he gave Jeffrey an eye signal. Jeffrey blinked and continued.
Am I wrong? Isn't it inappropriate for an amateur singer to sing with a professional singer? If she hit the high notes, you wouldn't be able to follow. High notes are what she's good at.
Winnie frowned. Ryan carefully asked,
Jeffrey, did I offend you somehow?
Jeffrey glanced at him coldly.
He wanted to say, Of course, you shouldn't have been so close to Winnie.
Instead of speaking, he remained silent.
I get it, Ryan said. Your brother-in-law sent you here, didn't he? Aaron is really unkind. April's pregnant already, yet he's still targeting me. Is this necessary? Yeah, it is, Jeffrey nodded. I admire my brother-in-law. I'll do whatever he says.
Winnie was speechless. He was talking barefaced nonsense. The corner of Ryan's mouth slightly twitched. He hurriedly finished the food and said,
Winnie, Fallon, let's go. Don't you want some milk tea?
Noticing that Jeffrey's face immediately turned sour, Winnie hurriedly smiled and said, No, there's no space for milk tea anymore. It's still early, so I plan to go to the library. I have an unfinished book.
All right, we're going in the same direction. Let's walk together,
Ryan said. Jeffrey watched the silhouette of the three of them and exclaimed,
Ryan and Winnie are such a beautiful couple. We shouldn't have come over at all. We look like extras.
After speaking, it felt as if his whole body was plunged into an ice house. The atmosphere was unspeakably chilly. He looked to the side. Jeffrey's head was bent down as he silently ate. Austin breathed a sigh of relief and told himself that it was just his imagination. Since the next class would start at 2:30 p.m., Winnie was too lazy to go home. Instead, she just camped at the library. Fallon only sat there for a short while before she got bored and went out to shop with some other friends. Winnie became sleepy after reading for a short while. Her eyes started closing, so she decided to lay down on the desk to cover her head with her book. Since she hadn't really slept the night before, once she laid down, she fell into a deep slumber. After she'd been asleep for a while, someone suddenly started to knock incessantly on the other end of the long table with a book. It was so noisy that it annoyed her. She opened her eyes in a daze to look toward the other end. The guy on the other side wore a blue denim windbreaker. Sunlight shone in from the window behind him. His skin was smooth like jade and his hair was soft. Winnie was momentarily stunned. When that face came into focus and her thoughts slowly gathered, she jerked and immediately looked around at her surroundings. Luckily, there weren't many people around. Jeffrey was staring at her. His dark stare was like fire sparks thrown into dry logs. She had been drooling in her sleep. The slight sheen at the corner of her lips made his mouth dry as a wave of heat rose in his stomach. Only after he had crossed his right leg over his left did he take out a pack of tissues. He took one out and passed it to Winnie, gesturing toward the corner of his mouth. Winnie didn't immediately understand. When she saw a pool of liquid on the table, she was so embarrassed that her entire face went red. She hurriedly wiped the corners of her mouth with the tissue. She felt incredibly embarrassed. She had really lost face in front of him. There wasn't a shred of dignity as a senior left. Jeffrey could tell that she was embarrassed. With her face red like strawberry, he wanted to go forward and kiss her. "When did you come? Didn't I say that we should keep our distance at school?" Winnie asked in a whisper. "I've only been here for 10 minutes, Jeffrey said with a frown. "When you're with me, you only think about keeping a distance. How about when you're with Ryan? With the two of you going everywhere together? Aren't you worried that others will think the two of you are dating?" "Ryan and I?" Winnie was surprised. She had never thought about it. Ryan probably hadn't either. "Doesn't Ryan like your sister?" Winnie asked. "My sister's already pregnant and married. Can't possibly like her for his lifetime. Who knows? The one he likes now might be you." Jeffrey quietly looked at her. "Ryan and I are friends, but you and I—" Winnie lowered her voice. She was a little embarrassed to say what was on her mind. "Everyone thinks that the two of us look more like a couple, so a lot of people are looking for gossip about us." "That's true." Jeffrey's thin lips curved up. "Reach your hand over from underneath the table. I want to pass you something." Winnie bit her lip and tentatively stretched her arm out below. A warm cup was suddenly in her hand. She quickly realized what it was. Her eyes widened. She looked at him with happiness in her eyes. "Be good. Don't drink Ryan's milk tea. Drink mine." Jeffrey stood up after he finished speaking and coolly walked away with his hand in his pocket. "So he came just to give me a cup of milk tea?" After watching him leave, Winnie opened the milk tea out of habit and took a sip. Why did she feel that it tasted better every time she drank it? After his last class, Jeffrey sent Winnie a message saying that he was on his way to the hospital so didn't need to wait for him. Winnie remembered that the doctor had told Jeffrey to go back to the hospital for a checkup to see if the stitches could be taken out. She went back to Jeffrey's flat and began preparing for dinner. She soon got a call from Tara, so she conveniently mentioned Ryan's invitation.
"How do you feel about it?"
Tara asked her.
"Are you fond of Ryan?"
Winnie was a little surprised and said, "No, of course not. We're schoolmates and friends. Neither of us has that kind of feelings for each other. I'm just thinking that I'll be working at Christmas anyway. It would be good if the work could be done in Rosewood City. Flying all over the world is a little exhausting."
"You two can work together,"
Tara said.
"If working together is just an excuse for you two to maintain a secret relationship, I'd say no. If you work together with him, people might think that you're friendly with your schoolmates. Besides, Ryan is your age. You two working together can bring up many topics."
Before the call ended, Jeffrey returned. "Are we going to talk to his manager?" Winnie hurriedly asked.
"Leave it to me,"
Tara said. As Winnie ended the call, Jeffrey looked at her suspiciously and asked, "That wasn't about you working with Ryan, was it?" Winnie sighed. Did he have to be so sensitive? "Jeffrey, I don't want you to interfere with my work," she said. "I'm not going to. I just think that you should probably keep a distance from Ryan," Jeffrey coldly said. He did not understand why he met a rival in love on the day he became her boyfriend. "Also, are you going to be with him at Christmas?
What does that mean? Are you going to celebrate Christmas with me? Winnie bit her lips. This conversation sounded familiar to her. She thought carefully and recalled that April had encountered the same problem last year. Men are all the same, she thought. I'm a singer and all TV stations run Christmas shows, Winnie said. Even if I don't sing in Rosewood City, I'll be singing somewhere else. In Rosewood City, I'll be able to come back to you right after the performance. If I worked somewhere else at Christmas, I wouldn't be able to make it back that day. Which one would you choose? Jeffrey didn't know what to say. After staying silent for a while, he finally managed to say, Why do you have to work with Ron? Can't you sing alone? If you can't sing alone, I'll sing with you. You haven't heard me sing yet. I'm actually good at singing. I can sing for you now. Thank you, but you don't have to do that, Winnie said. You have a beautiful voice, so I bet you can. Before she finished, he started singing her signature song. Winnie was shocked when she heard it. She wanted to take back her words. She made him listen to the song that she created for Director Woods' new film every single day, and he had a lot to talk about music. She thought that he had great musical talents, but his singing was... Stop! As a professional singer, Winnie couldn't bear hearing it. Every single word you sang was off-key. Aren't you being too strict? Jeffrey asked. I'm not a professional singer after all. You're even worse than amateurs, Winnie straightforwardly said. Jeffrey frowned slightly and walked over to her. Winnie felt a hint of danger. She hurriedly added, We all have specialties. You see, you're not good at singing, but you know so much more about films than I do. Jeffrey's footsteps didn't stop, and the darkness on his handsome face didn't lessen. Winnie tried to block his advance with a spatula. You can't possibly forbid me from speaking the truth. Don't you dare touch me. We've only been dating for 1 day, and you're already disregarding me. I don't dare, Jeffrey said. He suddenly reached out to grab her hand that was holding the spatula. He maneuvered himself behind her and pulled her into his embrace. He anxiously kissed her ear. You're my girlfriend, so I won't object to anything you say, Jeffrey said. Winnie tingled from his kiss and shyly retracted her head. Is this called no objection? You're obviously taking revenge on me. I don't dare. Jeffrey leaned over and kissed her mouth, which couldn't stop talking. Winnie's legs immediately went soft. He kept holding on to her and toying with her. The spatula in her hands was thrown aside. Jeffrey turned her body around, bent down, and became even more wild and demanding. Winnie was kissed until her heart skipped a beat. She really didn't understand. They had just kissed this morning, so why was he kissing her as if he couldn't get sick of it? The pot next to them kept making sizzling sounds. The smell of something burning quickly spread. She pushed him away and said, Don't disturb me. The food is about to burn. Jeffrey hugged her from behind and said, Winnie, I've been wanting to kiss you all day, especially considering how sweet and moving you looked when you just woke up this afternoon in the library. Winnie was stunned for a while. She recalled his heated gaze back then. At the time, she hadn't thought much of it. She was a little embarrassed. I look very ugly, she said, remembering how she had been drooling. You don't understand that men and women have different taste. Jeffrey kissed her on the cheek and said, Focus on cooking first. Winnie nodded and asked, Did you get the stitches out when you went to the hospital? The doctor said that the flesh had not finished healing. Jeffrey replied, I'll go again in 2 days. He changed the bandages for me. Winnie nodded. She hoped he recovered quickly. She continued to cook while Jeffrey went to the balcony. He kept coming in and out. He even took the dishes she cooked to the balcony. Are we eating on the balcony tonight? Winnie asked. Yes, but don't worry, Jeffrey said with a smile. I've closed the curtains. Even if there are paparazzi outside, no one can get a shot. Winnie was bewildered. Wasn't it just a meal? Was there a need to go to the balcony? Although his balcony was very big. When she finished making the last dish, she brought it over. When she looked at the scenery on the balcony, she was completely stunned.
Winnie had been to his balcony before. Though there were many flowers and plants on it, it was well ordered and not messy. Now the lights were off. Beside every plant pot was a small candle, and the plants had fluorescent lights on them. On a square table were the dishes and a cake, which had fresh flowers arranged into the letters LOVE on it. There was even a retro candle holder beside it. Jeffrey stood beside the table. His face was illuminated by the candlelight. He looked incredibly handsome. Winnie's eyes opened wide. She strongly suspected that she was in the wrong place. "Are you celebrating your birthday today?" She was so nervous that she didn't know what to do. "Why didn't you tell me earlier? I didn't prepare a gift." The soft smile on Jeffrey's face deepened.
"Can you only do these things on birthdays? Today is the anniversary of our relationship."
"A memorable day?" He was confused. "Isn't this our first day together?"
"Yeah, it's the first, so it's special,"
Jeffrey said. He took the food from her hands and set it on the table. He pulled out a chair and signaled for her to sit down. Winnie sat down and looked at the cake. She felt as if she was in a dream. Everything that was happening at the moment seemed too good to be true. It was the first time a man had tried to surprise her. It was an old trick, but girls liked it. "Did you do this while I was cooking?" Winnie looked around. She couldn't imagine how difficult it was for him to do all of this work with one hand.
"Yeah," Jeffrey raised his left hand. "I burned my hand a few times."
Winnie looked at his hand and saw some red wax on his fingers. It must have hurt when the wax dripped on his skin. She held his hand and complained in a gentle voice. "You're still injured. Why'd you do all this?"
"It was a surprise,"
Jeffrey replied. His words were simple, but touching. "Do I even get a surprise on our first day together?" Winnie asked.
Jeffrey nodded and said, "We were supposed to go out for our first date and maybe have a candlelit dinner. But you're a star and I'm injured. The balcony was my second best choice. Come on, try the cake. I ordered it from a place far away. It's exclusively for you."
"So you didn't go to the hospital this afternoon, did you?" Winnie asked.
"No, I'll go tomorrow." Jeffrey smiled. "Are you surprised now?"
"I am." Winnie was really touched. She was a little worried earlier in the day when she agreed to be with him, especially since he was younger than her. However, she now believed that she had made the right choice. No matter what might happen in the future, they were together and happy now. "Jeffrey, thank you," Winnie said in a soft voice. "No one has ever done all this for me." Jeffrey was a bit surprised.
"Weren't you with Ben for a long time?"
"We were young and we didn't have money. It's not like now." Winnie sighed and said, "We hardly had chances to see each other after he started his career." Jeffrey looked at her and felt a little pity for her. She was silly. She wasted 4 years of her life for a relationship like that. Ben was such a scum. He lied to her and made her believe that he loved her, yet didn't even see her. Good girls easily got hurt, including his sister and Winnie.
"Try the cake,"
he said in a deep voice. Winnie didn't know where the cake came from, but it tasted awesome. She didn't dare eat too much of it since she needed to save some room for dinner. As they were about to eat dinner, Jeffrey put a spoon before her and said,
"Feed me."
Winnie's mouth slightly twitched. "You ate with your left hand at lunch in the canteen."
"That's because I didn't want the others to know about our relationship. I had no choice but to do it myself. Now we're alone. I don't need to push myself that hard anymore."
Jeffrey made himself sound very reasonable. Considering the thoughtful surprise he created for her, Winnie had no other choice but to feed him. After dinner, Winnie did the dishes. Jeffrey stood by her side and said,
"I'll never let you wash the dishes again when my hands heal."
"Really?" Winnie doubted his words. "Guys hate washing dishes. My dad hates it. He fought with my mom every time she asked him to do the dishes."
"Washing dishes can turn your hands from soft and smooth to rough,"
Jeffrey gently said. For that very reason, he told himself that washing dishes would be his job. Winnie's heart was moved. but she knew that some things could only be believed after a man had taken actions to live up to his words. Who knew if he was just sweet-talking her? Around 7:30 p.m., Jeffrey went into the bathroom to start filling the bathtub. Winnie only knew that he intended to take a bath after going to find him. She was surprised and asked, "You want to take a bath in this state?" "The wound will get wet if I shower, so I intend to soak in the water and leave this arm outside." Jeffrey looked back at her and smiled. "Since you're here, won't you help me scrub my back?" Winnie began to imagine that scenario. She would be scrubbing his back while he bathed. What would happen after that? The image was too shocking. It made her start to feel warm. "That isn't very appropriate, is it?" she asked. "Don't worry, I'll put a lot of bubbles on top. You won't be able to see anything," Jeffrey teased. His brazen words made Winnie furiously blush. She glared at him and said, "Pervert?" Jeffrey smiled and asked, "Why are you scolding me? Unless maybe you don't want me to put the bubbles and want to see everything clearly. I've no objections. I'm just worried that you..." Winnie couldn't listen anymore and said, "You used to be rather cold, so why are you speaking with such shameless words now?" "If I'm not cold toward women with whom I don't intend to develop anything with, should I be friendly and passionate instead? Now that you're my girlfriend, I will show my cutest side to you." A glint of humor passed across Jeffrey's eyes. Winnie thought, "There is no relationship between you and cute, you devil." "I'll go turn off the water," Jeffrey said as he stood up. "Don't run away. You're the one who promised my sister to take care of me." Winnie gritted her teeth. "Did I promise your sister to bathe you?" "Would you let some other woman bathe me?" Jeffrey raised his brows. "You would agree?" Winnie nodded. "Sure, I agree." Jeffrey turned around. He bent down close to her and forced her to look into his eyes as he said, "I don't agree." Winnie thought, what does you not agreeing have to do with me? "My body can only be shown to you." Jeffrey's long fingers gently grazed her chin before he stood straight up. "Come in after I've entered the bathtub. If you don't help me and my wound gets wet and becomes infected, don't blame me for it." He arrogantly made his way to the bathroom. The way he looked annoyed Winnie. His body wasn't hers. If his wound got infected, the pain wouldn't be hers either. Why was he being so proud? However, she did wish for him to recover quickly. She had to take care of him now. She always felt as if she was carrying a burden wherever she went. She sighed and thought it was best not to overthink things. About 3 minutes later, Jeffrey called out from inside the bathroom. Winnie stilled her nerves and walked in. The white bathtub was against the corners of the wall. Jeffrey was inside while an arm was left outside. "See, I didn't lie to you," he said as he raised his brows at her. Winnie ignored him. No matter what, taking care of a man during his bath was an awkward affair. Even more, he wasn't clothed. She didn't feel safe. Jeffrey found a towel inside the water and quickly passed it to her. Winnie quickly helped him scrub his back. It wasn't the first time she had felt his back, although the last time it wasn't during a bath. She found she did have some resistance towards his back now. She had just started scrubbing when Jeffrey suddenly raised his right leg from inside the water. She was so surprised that she dropped the towel into the water. Without thinking, Winnie rolled up her sleeve and put her hand into the water to find the towel. While fumbling for the towel, she seemed to have squeezed something that she should not touch. Jeffrey moaned in pain. He straightened his body and moved to the other side. His cheeks reddened in the steam. He glared and said, "You're supposed to wipe my back. Why'd you touch my butt?" Winnie even wanted to kill herself. She had indeed touched his butt. She blushed and quickly gave an explanation. "I was wiping your back and you raised your legs sexily. I was scared by that sudden move of yours, so I dropped the towel. I accidentally touched your butt when I was getting the towel." "That was not sexy. This is sexy." Jeffrey raised his leg again to show her and said, "I just want to put my legs up. Curling in the water isn't comfortable." Winnie's cheeks burned. She was not a lascivious person. But seeing such a handsome man raise his long, slim leg made her have some dirty thoughts. He jogged every day, so his legs were perfectly shaped and muscular. He also had smooth, olive skin. All right, it was my fault. Do you want me to help or not? I'll leave if you don't need me here. Winnie dropped her head. She had to stop doing that, otherwise her nose might start to bleed.
You're not allowed to touch me again. If you drop the towel, I'll get it for you,
Jeffrey said as he moved his body back to her side. Winnie was speechless. He made it sound like she was trying to take advantage of him. She really wanted to tell him that she had already touched every corner of his body, so she had no interest to take small advantages of him now. Jeffrey found the towel for her and asked her,
"How is it? Do you like it?"
Winnie remained silent. She hoped that he didn't mean what she thought he meant.
I mean,
Jeffrey glanced at the water. No, it's too skinny, Winnie said through clenched teeth as she violently wiped his back. After that, she put the towel on his head and ran away. Jeffrey dragged off the towel and smiled at the door. Skinny? How could that be possible? He was pretty confident about his body shape. As he came out of the bathroom, Winnie had already left. Jeffrey knocked on her door. After a while, Winnie answered the door. She had changed into her pajamas and put her hair into a ponytail. Her snow-white skin still toned with redness. She had an awkward expression. Jeffrey lazily leaned on the doorframe. His hair was moist, which made him look sexy.
Are you still up?
A trace of embarrassment flashed across Winnie's face. She seriously said, Jeffrey, I'm a girl after all. We are together now, but for some things I can't let them happen too fast. So I think I need to take it slow.
Winnie, how can you misunderstand me like that?
Jeffrey moved closer to her and smiled.
I didn't do anything to you except for a kiss. What about you? You grabbed my butt and blamed me for making things happen too fast. You're the one who took advantage and complained about it.
Winnie felt embarrassed. She was not confident about what she had said. If he knew that she took his first time, would he demand her to make up for him right away? Would he think that she was faking all the time? She was going to tell him the truth soon, but with those thoughts, she suddenly lost her courage.
You said yourself that you like to collect condoms,
Jeffrey said with a frown, seeing that she was still not smiling.
Did you lie to me before?
No, I like them. Winnie nodded. She wanted to cry, but smiling was her only choice at the moment. I never saw these foreign brands before. I was just surprised.
I'm glad you like them,
Jeffrey said.
I'll try my best to find more brands that you don't know.
You don't have to. If there was a river flowing near Winnie, she would instantly jump in.
I don't think you can find any good ones yourself. The choices of condoms that we have in this country are limited.
Jeffrey opened his book while speaking. He raised his head and said,
Oh, I gave you these, so you're not allowed to give them to anyone else. I heard that you often give condoms to my sister.
Winnie remained silent. How much did April tell him?
She's married. Don't worry about her,
Jeffrey snorted and said.
Besides, even though you've given her many condoms, she got pregnant anyway. You're ruining the condom company's reputation.
He sounded like a professional condom salesman. Winnie felt speechless. She thought, your sister and her husband are so passionate that they even did it on the dining table. Probably didn't even have the time to use condoms. How could I possibly stop her from getting pregnant?
Also, you're only allowed to use these with me,
Jeffrey added with a wicked smile. Winnie kicked him under the table. Jeffrey's eyes widened to the sudden pain. He said,
All right, we won't use your collection. I'll bring some myself, okay?
Winnie closed the box. It was settled. She was a condom collector, and there was nothing to say to change that fact. She was too tired to explain. That won't happen anytime soon. If you misbehave, you may never have a chance to use them, she said.
It's okay. We'll go straight for children.
Jeffrey's smile grew bigger. When he blushed, this conversation had to end. She would never win anyway. She stood up, put her gift away, and came back to study with Jeffrey. She was concentrating on her studies. Jeffrey started eating cookies after a short while of reading. He also put dry beef and a cookie into Winnie's mouth from time to time. She didn't know where he got snacks that tasted so different from the supermarket ones. At 9 p.m., he finished the snacks. He went to lay on the couch and played a game on his phone. Winnie didn't sleep the previous night, so she was very tired. She pulled him up and said, "Go back to your own place. I'm going to sleep." "All right." Jeffrey turned and reached out a hand to her while looking at the phone screen. "Give me your key. You might oversleep. I'll get in and prepare you things in the morning." Winnie paused briefly and patted his palm. "Just knock on my door. I'm going to sleep early tonight, so I'll get up early in the morning. I don't need you to prepare my breakfast. If I give you the key now, you might sneak in while I'm asleep." "But I gave you my key," Jeffrey said with grievance. "I have your key so I can cook for you anytime you need," she replied. "Same here," Jeffrey nodded and said. "I want to make sure that your fridge is always full. I want you to always have something to eat when you return from a work trip. I don't want you to be hungry. I want to keep your flat nice and clean, so you'll always come back to a tidy home." Winnie snorted. Realizing that was very impolite, she cleared her throat and said, "I'm sorry. It's just so funny." "Funny?" Jeffrey lowered his voice with discontent. "Do you think I'm joking?" "No, I was just picturing you in an apron keeping my place clean." Winnie tried very hard to keep herself from laughing out loud. "Maybe you'll look like a cleaning lady? A cute one for sure. Women return back to their husbands, and I'll return back to my cleaning lady." Jeffrey's mouth corners twitched slightly. Was that even the point? "So are you saying that you're not going to marry me? Because I'll look like a cleaning lady?" he asked as he stood up. He walked to her side. He put one hand on the back of her hair and the other on the table. He narrowed his eyes and moved closer to her. "Who do you want to marry? Ben?" He breathed into her face. His face was handsome and it made her heart race. However, he also looked dangerous. She felt it was a little hard to breathe. Isn't it too early for us to talk about marriage?" she asked. "Jeffrey, you're only 20. "You brought up this topic, didn't you?" Jeffrey knocked on the table. "Is it because I'm younger than you? It's all right. We'll get married when I get to the legal age of marriage. That'll be the year after next. If you can't wait that long, we'll get married abroad. I can legally marry in some countries." "I was just casually talking. Sit down," Winnie said. Winnie offered water to Jeffrey. Soon her thoughts traveled to the pregnancy test she still had to take. For a female star, buying a pregnancy test could be a difficult thing. Thankfully, many places provided home delivery services. They would wrap the products up so people couldn't see what had been purchased. On Thursday, the tests were delivered to Winnie's flat. She quickly went into the bathroom to take a test. Seeing that single bar on the stick, she sighed with relief. Thankfully, she was not pregnant. She was probably just overworked, which was why her period was late. She suddenly got a call from Tara. "You're going to the Rosewood City TV station at Christmas." Winnie replied, "Have you talked to Ryan's manager?" "Let me finish. You're not performing with Ryan. You'll be doing the show with Director Woods' crew," Tara said. Winnie was momentarily speechless. Aren't they going to start shooting the film the 26th? Why are they still going on TV? Besides, it's pointless for them to do the advertising before the film's done, isn't it? Tara sighed and said, "I know. The film crew talked to me this morning. I couldn't say no. Director Woods said that all the other actors and actresses all have full schedules, so he invited you and the few who had time. I've thought about it. It'll be fine. You'll be on the show anyway. Whom you're doing it with really doesn't matter. You need to help those people with singing, though. I heard that none of them are good at singing." Winnie remained silent. She hoped that the one who lived next door wouldn't be on the show. To be honest, she was not capable of bettering his terrible singing. Jeffrey returned from the hospital at 6 p.m. Winnie quickly went over to talk to him. "Did you tell Director Woods to bring his crew up to the Christmas show?" she asked. Jeffrey was watering the plants on his balcony. He raised his eyebrows and lazily said,
Yeah, I told Director Woods that advertising in advance is necessary. You pulled strings. Winnie clenched her teeth and put a hand on her forehead. He had won. Aren't you aware of how badly you sing? Who gave you the courage to sing on TV and torture the audience? Can't the Christmas show bring some real fun? Jeffrey's hand that was watering the flowers slightly shook. Why were these words so familiar? He thought for a bit. Were they not what he said to Ryan a few days ago? You were saying the exact words I said to Ryan. Jeffrey placed the watering can down and straightened his handsome face. Your memory is indeed very good. Winnie felt a hint of danger in his displeasure. She felt that her words might have been too hurtful. After all, it wasn't his fault that he couldn't sing well. Sometimes it was innate. While I don't sing well, it's not like Ryan does either, Jeffrey indignantly said. He sings all right. Winnie couldn't help herself and nodded her head once. What could he reply now? He angrily pulled her toward him and forcefully bit her lip once. It's better if I accompany you singing. Winnie was amazed by how domineering and shameless he was. She looked up at his face, which was holding back annoyance, and suddenly found it funny. Thank you, but I don't need your accompaniment, she said. Winnie? Jeffrey's tone suddenly turned sharp. Winnie thought that he was going to be angry. Instead, he cupped her small face and said with a cool expression but soft voice, Give me some face. I am your boyfriend. You shouldn't praise other men like that. Winnie finally couldn't hold it in anymore and laughed softly. Jeffrey, there really isn't a need to do this. You're just making things difficult for Director Woods. It isn't difficult for him. He feels that he owes me something for getting injured in his production, so he readily agreed. Jeffrey's lips slightly slanted as he said, Of course, I didn't let him call Ben. Winnie breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. Honestly, she wanted as little contact with Ben as much as possible. Speaking of which, do you really intend to sing on the stage when you sing so awfully? She asked. Why not? Isn't there a saying that this is a world that judges people by their looks? Jeffrey's expression was full of nonchalance. I have the looks and talent, so the audience wouldn't mind. Also, to be frank, most people would be out on dates on Christmas. Only a small minority will stay at home and watch television, and they are all elderly. Winnie was completely speechless. It was a long while before she pushed his hand away and said, Just do what you want. I'll go and cook. Don't go. Let's go out and eat. Jeffrey pulled her hand back. Staying at home every day? We're like an old couple before we are even married, and sometime you'll lose interest. I won't. Quite like staying at home, she said. It isn't that you like to stay at home. Aren't you just scared that we would get photographed if you go out with me? Jeffrey directly exposed her true thoughts. Winnie opened her mouth but had nothing to say. Perhaps this was the sadness of being a public figure. Especially when looking for a partner, one had to be extremely careful. Silly. Jeffrey pinched her nose. Those celebrities caught in scandals were all the ones who spent a few days and nights in some hotels. Do you think that they never went out when they go on dates? They just weren't photographed. Even if they were, they would immediately find someone to delete the photos. I can do that, so you don't need to worry at all. Let's go. I've already bought 2 tickets to a play. It's based on a suspense drama edited by Keigo Higashino. Don't you like his books? How did you know that I like to read Keigo Higashino? Winnie was a little stunned. Jeffrey patted her small head and said, When you're free, you always like to go to the library. I can't come close to you either, so I could only look at you from far away. Every time I see you returning a book, I go over to take a look. I can understand what you like from your books. Winnie's eyelashes shook slightly. She looked at him with surprise. They rarely talked to each other at school, so she really didn't know about those things. Perhaps that was what people would do when they really liked someone. She hadn't been spending time to learn about what his hobbies and interests were. In their relationship, she was always the taker. Jeffrey, she started talking. Complicated feelings surged up.
Jeffrey put his slender fingers against her lips and said,
Winnie, you see, I wouldn't even touch some of those books before. The ones you like, I now want to read them from the first word to the last. I like what you like. Reading the book that you read is an enjoyment for me.
Winnie nearly melted hearing those sweet words. She didn't say anything. She put her arms around his neck and buried her face in his chest. She may have only had good feelings for him before, but now she was so sure that she liked him. She rarely took such initiative to interact with him so intimately. Jeffrey lowered his head and quietly held her. A short while later, Winnie raised her head and said, "Let's go to the musical." Jeffrey returned to his room and changed. As they prepared to leave, the doorbell rang. Winnie's heart skipped a beat. Currently, the scariest person that could show up at Jeffrey's place was Ella. However, the guards had been strictly forbidding her from entering the building. Therefore, who rang the doorbell could only be Jeffrey's family. Winnie looked outside through the peephole. She saw April and Aaron. Why did those two come at dinner time? She hurriedly pulled her hand out of Jeffrey's hand, ran to the kitchen, picked up a knife, and pretended to be making dinner. Jeffrey glanced at her and opened the door. "What took you so long to answer the door? I thought you weren't here." April quickly noticed Winnie's shoes at the door. "Is Winnie here?"
Yeah, she's serving me.
Jeffrey threw out 2 slippers. April was wearing a pair of ankle boots. Her belly was so huge that she couldn't take off her shoes by herself. Aaron quickly bent over to do it for her. Jeffrey noticed Aaron's smooth movements and figured that he had done it many times.
Why are you here?
He asked. Seriously, why were they here? "Didn't you say that you took out the stitches today?" April asked. "We were out shopping earlier. We decided to drop by and visit you and also get some dinner." She put on the slippers and headed toward the kitchen. "Winnie, thank you for taking care of Jeffrey these days. I got you a present this afternoon." April handed her a paper bag. "Don't you always like the clothes from this brand? You never bought them because you wanted to save money. I saw this. I think it suits you perfectly, so I got it for you. I know you can afford this yourself now, but I thought of you the moment I saw it." Winnie opened the bag. It was an embroidered orange jacket. It was beautiful. She and April used to visit that shop often. She was touched and hugged April. "April, thank you," she said. "I can't believe you still remember that." "I sure do," April said. Both of the men's faces darkened when they saw the 2 women hug each other. Jeffrey rubbed the point between his eyebrows. He couldn't help but remind April.
Aren't you going to visit me? Did you bring me anything?
April remained silent. After stiffening up for a moment, April turned around. "Aaron, where's Jeffrey's present?" Aaron was confused. He didn't remember her buying a present for her brother. "Did you leave it in the car even though I told you to carry it?" April quickly thought of something. "It's that Burberry checkered suit." Aaron became angry and thought, "Wasn't that for me?" "Hubby, get up and go get it." April pushed him toward the door. She softly said beside his ear, "Jeffrey rarely asks for gifts from me. Besides, it won't fit. I will compensate you with 3 sets. Aaron reluctantly went downstairs. April glanced toward the kitchen and felt that something was a little off. "Aren't you cooking dinner? Why isn't there anything on the stove?" "I just got here, so I forgot," when he hurriedly started fumbling with the utensils. 8 minutes later, Aaron brought up a dark green checkered blazer upstairs. It went with a pair of black pants. Jeffrey guessed what was going on after seeing the size. He wanted to return it. When he saw Aaron's expression, he couldn't help himself and smilingly went to his room to change into the new suit. He wasn't built like Aaron, but since he had grown taller recently, he unexpectedly filled out the suit. Additionally, these clothes weren't overly stiff or strict. The ankle-length pants showed sophisticated and nice-looking ankles. Along with his handsome face, he looked like a young CEO, both elegant and youthful. Winnie and April both stared. Aaron's face was extremely dark. He pulled April toward him. She hurriedly snapped back to reality and stammered, "These clothes?"
"This suits me very well," Jeffrey said with a smile. "Thank you, sister and brother-in-law."
Aaron's expression was cold. He decided not to look anymore and turned around. He saw the 2 theater tickets on the living room table. He walked over and picked them up to look, his eyebrows slightly raised.
"Which woman are you intending to watch this play with?"
he asked. April's eyes lit up when she heard him. Aaron had already said that Jeffrey could have anyone he liked. The condition for her coming over was not to tell Jeffrey beforehand, so perhaps there would be some girl at his home. In the end, there was a girl, but she was Winnie. That wasn't anything to be surprised about. Since she frequently contacted Winnie, she knew that when her friend didn't have work, she would normally be helping to take care of Jeffrey. A hint of awkwardness flashed in Winnie's eyes. But it was Jeffrey who unhurriedly answered.
"A friend of mine who works at the theater gave them to me. These are front row seats to tonight's show,"
Aaron said as he raised his handsome eyebrows.
"There is only 30 minutes before the show starts. Are you going on a date with someone?"
A girl? April was curious.
"No."
Jeffrey bent down to smooth out the suit. Aaron smiled. He pulled April to him and said,
"Since you haven't asked anyone out, why don't you give these tickets to April and I? We haven't seen a play in a long time. April, what do you think?"
"Sure," April nodded. "Anyway, it will be boring if we just go home." Winnie silently looked toward Jeffrey and saw that the lines on his face were violently twitching. Since he had already said that he would never ask anyone out, there were no grounds for him to object.
"Let's not have dinner here. We won't make it in time,"
Aaron said as he looked at his watch.
"All right, just leave."
Jeffrey worried that he might die of anger if his sister and brother-in-law stayed longer. "Jeffrey, you don't seem happy to see me. Why?" April was a little sad.
"It's not true."
How could he possibly be happy to see her? She and her husband ruined his date and took his tickets.
"April, let's go. You see, he got changed by himself, so I guess his wound is almost healed. You don't need to worry anymore."
Aaron put an arm around April's shoulder and brought her to the door. April felt guilty for giving Aaron's suit to Jeffrey, so she quickly followed him. After closing the door, Jeffrey's pretty face turned frosty cold. The tickets were gone. How was the date supposed to happen? He might be able to buy 2 new tickets, but what if they ran into his sister and her husband? Winnie stood behind him, holding a Turner. She understood how he felt. He learned about her hobby, but now the tickets were gone. "We can watch it next time. It'll be on for a while. Let's watch TV at home tonight. There's a new series and I've been wanting to watch it," she said.
"All right."
Jeffrey's eyes glowed. He made a few steps toward her, giving her a naughty smile.
"Do I look good in this suit? You were staring at me."
"Was I?" Winnie felt embarrassed. "April was staring at you too."
"She's my sister. I don't care what she thinks. What you think is more important."
Jeffrey put his lips near her face, eyeing her expectantly. "You look gorgeous. April really has great taste," Winnie said, then ran away with the Turner. Jeffrey smilingly looked at her, feeling that a date at home was also nice. After dinner, Jeffrey turned on the TV and found the series that Winnie had talked about. It was a thriller. The first 20 minutes were fine. Later on, Jeffrey noticed that every time a scary scene came on, Winnie would silently turn her eyes away, and her body would automatically go stiff. Jeffrey quietly went into his bedroom, then returned and sat by her side.
"Even that scares you?"
Winnie blushed. After all, she suggested watching the series. She was aware that some horror movies and TV dramas could really scare her. When she was little, she watched a zombie film and didn't dare to sleep alone for a few days afterward.
"Don't be afraid. I'm here."
Jeffrey dragged her into his arms and said,
"It's just a zombie. It's not scary at all. It's nothing but a few pieces of wrinkled artificial skin stuck on their faces."
Hearing that, Winnie carefully turned to the TV and saw a zombie jump out of the coffin, along with horrifying music. She trembled with fright and hurriedly buried her face into his chest.
"You don't need to be afraid like that."
Jeffrey really liked being held tight by her. He whispered in her ear,
"What should I do? You're older than me, yet you're so easy to scare. You're a little girl who needs to be taken care of.
Don't you know that all girls are easy to scare? Winnie raised her head from his chest, complaining, but saw Jeffrey wearing a zombie skin on his face, looking even scarier than the zombies on TV. She burst into a scream, sprung up, and jumped to the side. What is that? She nearly lost her mind.
That's a mask for a zombie shoot.
Jeffrey took off the mask.
When I was in the production team, they gave me a few.
Crazy guy! Winnie was incredibly angry and stood up to leave. It looked like she was angry. Jeffrey hurriedly grabbed her to prevent her from leaving.
Are you really angry? I just wanted to test your courage.
Who tests like this? You know that I'm timid, yet you still scare me. Winnie couldn't get out of his hold, but she was really angry, so she could only pound on his chest.
Go on, hit me. As long as it makes you less angry, you can hit me as much as you want.
Jeffrey grabbed her hands to hit his face. Things like hitting another person's face, Winnie really couldn't do it. She glared at him but stopped hitting him. Jeffrey took the opportunity to pull her into his embrace and tried to placate her.
I was wrong and I was being bad. I won't scare you again.
If there is a next time, I would change boyfriends, Winnie said.
You dare?
After saying that, Jeffrey bent over to kiss her small mouth. Winnie was still angry and frustratedly bit his lips. Jeffrey smiled and decided to let her be. He continued to kiss her while ignoring everything else. Their lips and teeth clashed. It was both forceful and gentle. Winnie was kissed until she no longer had the strength to resist. She slowly let go of her bite, and he was even more like a fish that swam into the sea. The two of them both sat on the sofa. In this moment, they were leaning entirely on the cushions behind them. Jeffrey's left hand hugged her as they leaned against the sofa. His other arm could also move a little after the stitches had been removed. He narrowed his eyes as he looked at Winnie under the light. Her eyes were gently closed. Each of her eyelashes trembled underneath the light, while her lips and teeth tangled with his shyly. His heart burned violently. Full of libido, he couldn't hold back anymore as his right hand went up her waist. Winnie felt it immediately and trembled.
Be good, Winnie. You're pretty,
Jeffrey said hoarsely before kissing her even harder, like a hunter that attacked while setting up a trap. His overly arrogant aura and assault made Winnie unable to regain her bearings. After who knows how long, the hand holding her waist suddenly pulled and her body spun. She quickly landed on his thigh with her legs open suggestively. Jeffrey pressed her head down to continue kissing her. Winnie discovered that he especially liked this position. Actually, she rather liked it too. She couldn't help but hold his handsome face with both her hands. As they kissed, she suddenly felt the change in his body. She wasn't much better either, as her body tingled all over. It was like she was back to that night in the club. Jeffrey felt that this feeling was so familiar, as if... But didn't she say that she left very early that night? Was it her that night? The more he thought about it, the more he lost control, making it slightly painful for Winnie, who moaned in pain. The two of them then slowly regained their senses. Their eyes met. One's eyes were passionate and the other one's were dreamy while her cheeks blushed red. Winnie bent down to look at herself, then hurriedly covered her mouth and went to the bathroom without saying a word. The next day.
Here again.
Somebody tapped on his shoulder. Austin appeared behind him with an odd smile.
I heard that you've been coming to the library every day. My arm's still injured. Where would I go if not the library?
Jeffrey held his phone and stood up lazily. Austin snorted and picked up the book that he left on the table.
This is a Yasunari Kawabata book. Since when do you read his books? Why can't I? I'm both the director and a scriptwriter. Of course I need to read and write more.
Jeffrey took the book back and returned it to the bookshelf. Austin looked left and right, then suddenly went close to his ear.
Do you like Winnie or are you dating her?
Jeffrey's legs paused. He turned around to look at Austin with narrowed eyes.
Be careful what you say.
Austin rolled his eyes at Jeffrey.
Let me tell you that there are already people from school asking me about this because I'm the closest to you. You go to the library every day, and Winnie is always there too. Some people notice that every time she's there, you are too. Someone even came to ask me. Luckily, I was quick and denied it immediately. I said that you're writing a script, so you're researching in the library every day. Jeffrey frowned. He really didn't notice anything. Also, I realized that you've been buying milk tea and keeping it in your coat pocket. I might not know about other people, but I definitely know that you don't drink milk tea. Austin lowered his voice, saying, Also, anyone who has observed Winnie knows that she loves the milk tea in front of our school. That shop even advertised on its front door that it is Winnie's favorite milk tea, making their business boom. Don't deny it to me. I've already guessed that you like someone, but you've always denied that it was Winnie. I'm not stupid. Jeffrey pursed his lips, kept a poker face, and didn't say a word. Are you guys really dating? Austin became even more convinced after seeing his expression. Don't you already know? Jeffrey was expressionless. You're not to let this spread. I intend to announce it publicly after Winnie's graduated. I don't want to cause her trouble in school. Austin widened his eyes and looked at Jeffrey for a while. He silently cursed in his heart and said through gritted teeth, You really are cunning. You were already dating her and yet you still said you would introduce her to me? You're just jealous of Ryan, aren't you? Jeffrey put the book onto the bookshelf and stayed silent, making it seem he was omitting it. Never mind, I don't have your looks. I'm not as good as saving damsels like you are, Austin said. But it's quite good that you guys are not public yet. Once you do, every inch of your life will be scrutinized by paparazzi, which makes it easier for you two to break up, especially since you guys are still so young. He didn't even finish before he saw Jeffrey's unhappy look. Austin coughed lightly. Although my words may not be nice, this is today's society. We won't break up. Jeffrey turned around and left. Then you better be more careful in the future, Austin reminded him, saying, especially since there are people who are observing the two of you now. Jeffrey was frustrated, but he still agreed. On Thursday, Winnie had to fly to Canada in the afternoon. Christmas was almost here, so there were more and more events all over the country and overseas. That afternoon, Winnie ran downstairs the moment her class ended. Halfway there, she bumped into Ella coming down from the stairs. Winnie didn't intend to greet her. Although the two of them had never talked much, she disliked Ella more and more. Winnie planned to walk past her, yet Ella abruptly blocked her way, stared straight at her and said, Winnie, no offense, but are you pursuing Jeffrey? Winnie was stunned and nervous. She didn't talk to Jeffrey in school recently, but he often showed up around her. To be honest, anyone who paid attention could tell that something was going on between them. I don't know what you're talking about. Move away. I'm in a rush. Ella didn't step away, but continued aggressively, saying, I heard people say that you always sneak to the library when Jeffrey's there. I should have thought about what you two did in the music studio. And about my porridge. You did all that on purpose. I thought Jeffrey was like a little brother to you, but you were scheming against me. We were together before, but because of you, he broke up with me. Winnie, I didn't know that you were so sneaky. Winnie laughed with anger. It was the first time someone had said something like that about her. She was a star now. Ever since she built her fame, her schoolmates had been extra polite to her, especially the younger students. Ella was such a freak. Ella, watch your language. Winnie controlled her temper as they were still on the stairs. Learn that from your sister. Learn what? How to give other people what they want? Ella snorted coldly and said, I'm sorry, I'm not her. I don't like her way of doing things. If I met someone I like, I'll make an effort to win his heart. Why is it so hard for you to admit that you like Jeffrey? At least I have the courage to say that I like him. That's my business, and I don't need to tell you. Winnie had very limited time, so she impatiently pushed Ella away. Ella staggered a few steps and then fell on the stairs. There were only 2 steps, but still, it caught many people's attention. Winnie paused briefly with surprise. Before she could react, Ella had already burst into tears on the ground.
Winnie, I didn't do anything but ask if you like Jeffrey. Why did you get so mad at me? It really hurts. My ankle's twisted. Hearing her, some people quickly came downstairs, pointed at Winnie, and whispered to each other. She was a public figure, so people looked at her in shock. Ella, you fell off the stairs yourself. Winnie hadn't been through anything like that before. She rarely argued with people, even after she became popular. She kept a low profile. For a moment, she wondered if she had pushed Ella too hard, but soon she told herself that she did not. Ella looked at her with a shocked face and tearful eyes. Why would I frame you? You were my idol the whole time. Are you jealous of me because I've been in Jeffrey's flat taking care of him? Winnie prepared to say something else, but her phone rang. She hurriedly answered the call. It was Bob telling her to move faster. Guys, help me! I can't get up! Ella asked the others for help. What's going on? Winnie pushed her downstairs but wouldn't even help her up? Someone whispered. Exactly. I heard that Winnie likes Jeffrey and so does this girl. This girl has been in Jeffrey's flat. It sounds complicated. What's going on? Bob heard loud arguing voices from the side. Seeing that more and more people were coming out from both upstairs and downstairs, and there were some people taking photos, Winnie felt a headache. Come up, I have a problem. From the looks of it, Ella was planning to besmirch her character. As a public figure, Winnie was not in a position to start arguing with her. Although she was popular, there were a good number of people from school who were jealous of her. In addition, she would be too embarrassed to discuss her relationship in a public setting. She was not in a good position to defend herself, but Ella was completely shameless. Winnie stayed on her phone. Ella had already been helped up by somebody. I think you should be sent for a checkup at the infirmary. No matter if she had fallen on purpose or by accident, Winnie still tried to be diplomatic. Who knew that Ella would look at her with red-rimmed eyes and continue to say in a choking voice, Winnie, I just want to ask you, why did you push me? Was it because of Jeffrey? The crowd around them got noisy. What? Winnie likes Jeffrey? My goodness! Speaking of which, I saw this girl delivering food to Jeffrey every day. Did Winnie do this because she was feeling unhappy about it? You really can't tell from her looks. Another wave of discussion sounded. Winnie couldn't take it anymore. Ella, if you try to besmirch my character again, I can hire a lawyer. Go ahead. Anyways, you're a public figure, a hotshot celebrity. Well, I'm just an ordinary student. Ella gave a pitiful smile. Winnie had seen her fair share of unique people in her lifetime. She had never met someone like Ella. She couldn't straighten this out herself, so she decided to call April. Give me Kiara's number. What's wrong? April was surprised. Did something troublesome happen? After all, that lawyer Kiara. It's nothing much, but give me her number, Winnie replied vaguely. April found Kiara's number and sent it over. Winnie immediately dialed Kiara's number. Kiara, I'm Winnie. Your sister and I have had some conflict in school. Please come over. Oh, all right. Kiara was bemused, but she still agreed. Ella watched her make the call. When she was done, Ella said with a sad smile, It's no use. Even if you call my sister, it's over. You still push me, so you have to apologize to me. Don't think that I'm easy to bully because you're a hotshot celebrity. Winnie, what's going on? Right at that moment, Bob squeezed to the front with a security guard. Winnie roughly explained the situation to him in a low voice. Bob's expression was heavy. Get into the car and go to the airport first. I'll follow you after settling the business here. Winnie nodded and said to Ella, I'm not going to change my statement. I didn't push you. You chased Jeffrey with all your might, but in the end, you still couldn't get him. Don't put that blame on me. Also, don't view anyone close to Jeffrey as your hindrance. My junior, you're still so young, and yet you already are so cunning. You really make people feel that you're frightening. When she finished, Winnie left without turning back. Bob sent Ella to the infirmary. Not long after, Kiara came over as well. When Ella saw her, Ella immediately launched into her embrace in tears. Sister, you're a lawyer. You have to uphold justice for me. She really did push me, or else I wouldn't have lost my balance. If you don't believe me, you can look at the surveillance tapes, Bob said coldly.
Winnie said that she needed to leave urgently, but you were blocking her way. She wanted to push you aside, but you fell down by yourself. She didn't use any strength at all.
She knows the truth in her heart, Ella retaliated. That's enough. Kira cut her off with a cold expression. Ella, haven't I told you that you can't force things like feelings? Your usual antics in school, chasing him and causing small annoyances, can be forgiven since you have the right to chase him. But you even went over to his house? If any woman gets close to him or has a scandal with him, you would go and find the woman. According to the law, your behavior can constitute harassment. After being stunned for a moment, Ella started crying angry tears. Sister, how can you say this about me? You're my biological sister, and yet you don't help me but side with the outsider? Is it because she's April's good friend and you're afraid of offending Erin? Kira was so angry that she was at a loss for words. If Ella wasn't her sister, she really didn't want to bother. Ella, am I that kind of person? I'm saying this because you are in the wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. She pushed me, Ella insisted and said pitifully. But I'm all right if she refuses to apologize. However, I must tell you that she isn't simple. Back then, I had almost got Jeffrey to go out with me, but she said bad things about me to Jeffrey behind my back. I know all of that. Bob was so incredulous that he laughed.
Our Winnie is famous for her good temper. Ella, if this matter blows up, our company will sue you for slander. If nothing gets out on the account of your sister, we can let this matter go.
When he was done, he took out $1,000 and placed them on the desk.
This is for your medical fees. After all, your acting was so good and you made such a desperate attempt. It's reprehensible if we don't give you this.
When he finished, Bob left. Sister, look at how arrogant they are! Ella tagged Kira. Kira's head hurt. She didn't feel it earlier, but since Ella fell for Jeffrey, she really wanted to throw her own sister into a river to wake her up. Wasn't it just some relationship problem? She courted him and he didn't like her back. She shouldn't just let it be. Why drag it out? Jeffrey only found out about this when school was about to end. A schoolmate came to talk to him.
My goodness, Jeffrey. You are the talk of the school now. 2 women were fighting over you, and one of them is even the belle of our school.
The silhouette that had originally planned to pack up and leave paused immediately. He turned around to look at his schoolmate.
Who are you talking about? Winnie and, Ella. The girl that used to come and find you here all the time, the schoolmate said. I heard that Winnie pushed her down the stairs. Was she handicapped?
The schoolmate was stunned for a moment.
That didn't happen.
Why not? Jeffrey asked coldly.
Because the stairs aren't very high, said the schoolmate.
Jeffrey laughed coolly.
That might be because she fell down on purpose.
The schoolmate suddenly didn't know what to say.
I'm not too sure. Anyways, the whole school is talking about this now. Everyone says that Winnie likes you and that she did it out of jealousy. They say that Winnie uses her popularity to bully her juniors.
Jeffrey's handsome face clouded over quickly. He didn't say anything but quickly turned around and walked out. After finding out where Ella was headed to, he sped walked to the infirmary. Just then, he bumped into Kiera supporting Ella. Jeffrey, you came! A smile immediately appeared on Ella's face when she saw him. Did you hear about the matter between me and Winnie? Before she could finish, Jeffrey grabbed her arm and dragged her toward a nearby building. Jeffrey, what are you doing? Let me go! It hurts! Ella, who had injured her ankle, couldn't take it. She screamed in pain. Sister, help me! Kira was stunned. She quickly caught up with Jeffrey and said, Jeffrey!
This is between us. Don't come and don't worry. I won't kill her,
Jeffrey said, then walked upstairs in large steps. Kira hesitated, then decided to let him do what he wanted. She had spent some time with Jeffrey and had learned that he was a mature boy. She was also aware that her sister was spoiled by her parents. It seemed that Jeffrey was going to teach her a lesson. It was a good thing. Ella would get scared and finally stop bothering him. Jeffrey dragged her upstairs, pointed at the long stairs, and said coldly,
"Don't you like pretending to fall off stairs? If Winnie pushed you, the stairs you fell off were definitely not long enough. How about these stairs? I'll pay for the medical costs if you end up disabled."
He pushed Ella after he finished talking. Ella didn't dare to fall off such long stairs. She held Jeffrey's arm tight, screaming, "Jeffrey, stop joking! I didn't pretend. Winnie really pushed me." Jeffrey bent over, lowered his head, patted her face with a frosty look, and said,
"Ella, every time I see you, I detest you more. Who do you think you are? How can you compare yourself with Winnie? I'm telling you, I'm pursuing Winnie, but haven't managed to win her heart. Why would she be jealous of you? Look at your ugly face. What the hell did I do in a previous life to deserve your fondness in this life?"
His icy cold look and words made Ella shiver. She didn't expect Jeffrey to like Winnie. "Jeffrey, I'm already yours." Before she finished, Jeffrey held her and dragged her up from the ground and said,
"I might have believed you before, but you've been hovering around my head like a fly. I've been suspecting that it wasn't you that night. Who knows if you didn't sneak in and lie by my side afterward? If you really want to make this big and call me ungrateful, fine, you'll get my lawyer's letter. People will know how you took advantage of me while I was drunk. Everybody knows that you've been stalking me. I won't call for an end until you pay me a huge sum of money as compensation. I'm not joking. You better give it a try. Your future will be ruined for good, and you'll be too ashamed to face anyone."
Ella's arm was numb. She didn't dare argue with him, but screamed her sister's name with pain. Kira heard her shrill screams and ran up. Jeffrey let her go. Ella sat on the stairs.
"I spared you for the sake of your sister. Next time, I'll throw you down the stairs,"
Jeffrey whispered in her ear coldly. He then straightened up and threw the lock of hair that he had pulled off her head onto her face. After that, he rested his hands in his trouser pockets and left. Ella was frozen with fear. Jeffrey had really scared her. She felt that her arm didn't belong to her anymore. "Ella, I think you should stay away from him." Before Kira could finish, Ella yelled at her, saying, "Why didn't you come up earlier? You should have stopped him." "Don't you like him? I thought he wanted to talk to you alone. It was inappropriate for me to come." Kira shrugged innocently. "You didn't help me. You're not my sister." Canada. During the evening, the plane landed, and Winnie received a call from Jeffrey.
"Winnie, why didn't you tell me earlier about how Ella was making trouble for you? I had to hear it from our classmates."
"Looks like it's already spread." Winnie sighed. "I was in a rush to catch my flight, so I asked Bob to stay behind and handle it. You really believe that I didn't push her?"
"Between the two of us, do we still need to talk about trust? I know very well what kind of person you are. Anyway, so what if you did push her?"
Jeffrey said nonchalantly.
"I like you, not your kind-heartedness. I like it when you're bad, too."
A laugh burst out from Winnie. "I'm not bad at all, but your admirer is. Although she's still so young, she's already very cunning. Imagine what will happen when she enters the entertainment industry. That's too scary. I just wanted to push her away, but she fell down by herself. And now she has besmirched my reputation at school."
"Winnie, I'm sorry."
Jeffrey was also frustrated.
"I don't know what kind of grudge exists between me and her for her to decide to like me. Don't worry, when you're back, this matter will definitely be resolved."
"Handle it appropriately." Winnie had no other choice. "I can't talk right now. The person who's fetching me's here." Not long after Jeffrey hung up, he received a call from April. "I heard from the school's group chat that you and Winnie are dating?" Jeffrey frowned, but before he could speak, April added, "They're too ridiculous. Do people nowadays not take responsibility when spreading rumors? Jeffrey was speechless. Did Winnie and him really look that incompatible to other people? I can understand, April said. When I was in school and got a little close to any guy and exchanged a few words, others would say that I was dating that person. It is really annoying. Even more, you and Winnie are the school's most popular guy and girl, so the two of you get even more attention.
Yes, Jeffrey agreed in a low voice. It was Ella who purposely maligned Winnie.
I know what kind of person Winnie is. She never quarrels with anyone and she keeps a low profile, April said angrily. Kira's quite a nice person. Why would she have this kind of sister? Luckily, you're not dating her, else that would be a disaster. She would become scarier than your brother-in-law.
April, who are you talking about?
Erin's cold voice sounded suddenly from her end of the line. April wasn't done talking when her phone was snatched away. Erin bent down to gently squeeze her cheeks.
How am I scary?
I'm not talking about the desire to monopolize. April smiled sheepishly. In the past, I was only exchanging homework with a guy and you immediately fought him. Do you remember?
Don't speak rubbish. I have always been a gentle person who doesn't fight for no good reason.
Erin glanced at her mildly. There didn't seem to be any relation between him and gentle. Never mind. Bringing up old grudges with this kind of person would do nothing but make herself angrier. Speaking of which, haven't you known Kira for a long time? Have you met Ella? April asked curiously.
I'm not sure. Kira and I are only working partners.
Erin sat beside her proudly.
Other than you, when it comes to my personal life, women are just air.
April had no doubt it wasn't really flattery, as that could really be the case. April couldn't help but talk to Erin about what happened at school. She looked like a sweet little girl. I didn't think she'd be like this. How would people think if this got exaggerated by the media? Erin stayed silent for a while, then responded with,
Where did that rumor come from? Is your brother dating Winnie?
That's impossible, said April without hesitation. Winnie hasn't gotten over her last relationship yet. She wouldn't open herself up that easily. Besides, Jeffrey isn't her type. I think she likes the romantic type. The ones who say sweet words.
Are you talking about me?
Erin gave a big smile. April blinked, turned, and glanced at him.
There aren't many of our kind left in the world.
Erin gently pulled her into his arms and let her lean comfortably against his chest.
Tell Winnie, don't be too picky, or she might stay single her whole life. She even turned down my assistant. She really has poor taste in men.
April's mouth corners twitched slightly. In Erin's eyes, no one but himself had good taste. Winnie is younger than me, she said. What's the rush? She just started her career. Jeffrey's handsome, but he's too proud and cold, not gentle and romantic enough.
You're probably wrong.
Erin couldn't help but say.
Didn't you always say that I have a low EQ? After we got together, my EQ became super high. It's not about EQ. It's about if you like the person enough. If he does like her, he will naturally become gentle and romantic. Your brother is not as handsome and mature as me, though.
Can you not compliment yourself while depreciating the others? Said April through clenched teeth.
I didn't. I was telling the truth.
Erin abruptly narrowed his eyes and continued with,
What do you mean? Do you think that your brother is more mature and handsome than me? Babe, talk nicely. I've been spoiling you recently. There are lines that we don't cross.
You are the most handsome man in my world. April hurriedly poked his forehead with a finger. Sometimes men needed compliments, especially her Mr. Bennett. She had become a fat and ugly pregnant lady, yet he never left her side. She was happy about that.
You have good eyes.
Erin held her face and gave her a deep kiss. He didn't stop until her tongue was numb.
Then again, what if your brother and Winnie really got together?
April paused briefly, then replied with, That'll be great. If those two got married, I'll be able to see Winnie all the time, even after we graduate. We'll be celebrating New Year's together and all the other festivals.
Forget it.
Erin held her tight.
If she married Jeffrey, you'd be spending all the time with her instead of me.
April laughed. How could he be jealous of Winnie? Silly man. Singapore. Winnie was heading to attend an award ceremony. At the ceremony, she needed to dance and sing. Apart from that, she would present an award to a Taiwanese singer. On Friday, the organizer drove her to the venue for rehearsal. It was a music event, so many of her friends were there. After rehearsal, they had dinner and went to karaoke. It was already 11 p.m. when she returned to the hotel. Near her room, a tall figure was walking back and forth. Clad in a light brown windbreaker, the collar that was turned up made him look especially tall and imposing. His arms were placed behind his back. A bunch of flowers could barely be seen. The more she looked, the more Winnie felt that this man looked familiar. But she couldn't believe her eyes. It was until that point that her breath became lighter. Bob saw him as well and said,
"Isn't that—"
Winnie raised a finger to her lips, indicating to Bob not to finish the sentence. For the award ceremony, many singers who came to attend were arranged to stay in the hotel. It would be bad if they were to be seen. Bob immediately understood and opened the door to the room while pretending that he didn't see anything. Winnie walked in, as did the tall figure, revealing a good-looking face.
"Why did you come?"
Winnie was both surprised and shocked. When she texted him this afternoon, he was still at school.
"I missed you, so I came."
Jeffrey looked at her intently, his voice so gentle as if it was dripping water. Winnie blushed as her heart picked up pace. Bob, who was listening beside them, had goosebumps all over. No wonder that Winnie fell for this guy. This person, who was usually cold as ice to other people, was so warm to Winnie that he could practically melt a person. He was not like himself anymore.
"I'll leave first. I won't disturb you guys anymore."
Bob walked to the door and turned around again to ask,
Mr. Diaz, do you need me to reserve a room for you?"
"There's no need," Jeffrey immediately replied. The impact of it shocked the other two people in the room until their hearts were thumping. Winnie's eyes widened and she stammered,
"I only have one bed."
Although the bed was very big, who knows what would happen.
"It's all right. Isn't there a sofa here?"
Jeffrey said.
"Let's not waste money. I want to keep my money for my future wife to spend."
So shameless at such a young age. He would become unthinkable in the future. Winnie coughed embarrassedly. "That's not very appropriate, is it? The sofa is too short and your future wife won't miss the fees of a hotel room."
"That won't do. I don't like to use a woman's money."
Jeffrey placed the flowers down and started to take off his jacket.
"I'm going to shower. After being on the plane all day, I'm dead tired." "Winnie, I'm going to leave now."
The rest of the night might not be appropriate for him to view, so Bob left quickly. After the door closed, there was only the two of them left. Winnie felt that the temperature in the room was quite high. Really high. Although the two of them often spent time alone at home, they always returned to their own house at night. It was totally different now. So the two of them would be spending the night in the same room?
"Jeffrey, I think you should." "Which one's your towel? I don't like to use the hotel's towels. It's not very clean,"
Jeffrey said.
"You're really gonna sleep here tonight?"
"Else," Jeffrey raised his eyebrows.
"You're working all day tomorrow and you can't spend time with me. I can't possibly come all the way here just to see you for the short while, then stay in a room by myself. I miss you, Winnie."
"Why do I miss you so much?" He took a step forward and forcefully pulled her into his embrace. Only after kissing her soft lips hardly and thoroughly did he start to undo his shirt. Watching him, Winnie's heart skipped a beat. Her tongue, that was kissed until it was numb, also quivered. "What are you doing?"
"I want to..."
Jeffrey's lips curved at the corners sinisterly as he walked towards her.
"What do you think I'm gonna do?"
"Why did I come all this way?" Winnie's scalp went numb. When his chest was exposed bit by bit, her face turned as red as ripe strawberries. She didn't remember everything that happened that night, but she did have some vague memories. She remembered how strong he was. Jeffrey took off his shirt and exposed his wide shoulders. Winnie had seen his shoulders before when she sponge-bathed him. But that wasn't as near as stimulating as this. Calm down, Winnie stuttered. She was drunk that night, but now her mind was very clear and unprepared. She didn't even have any condoms.
How can I stay calm? I can't.
Jeffrey lowered his head and started unbuckling his belt. She had given him that belt. Against the brown belt, his slender and pretty fingers looked like the fingers of an artist. Winnie couldn't help but stare at his fingers. The belt was unbuckled. His pants fell to the ground and exposed his long, straight, and muscular legs. Winnie's brain stopped working like a broken computer. Noticing the look on her face, Jeffrey gave a wicked smile and said,
Babe, I feel so hot right now. I'm on fire.
She didn't know what to say. Her body shivered slightly, growing hotter and hotter. She even started feeling thirsty. What was he doing next? He wouldn't take off all his clothes, would he?
So,
Jeffrey slowly hooked the edge of his underwear with a finger and said,
I have to take a shower.
Winnie didn't respond as she was a little confused. It was not like what she imagined. She raised her head and gawked at him.
Don't you want me to take a shower? Are you disappointed?
Jeffrey raised his brows.
Or were you just thinking about something just now?
What was she thinking about just now? Winnie felt as if her brain was swelling. Jeffrey chuckled. He bent over and slowly put his face near hers and said,
Do you think I'll ask you for sex tonight?
Stop talking nonsense. Winnie glared at him with a burning face. I don't.
Good then. I was afraid that you might rape me.
Jeffrey clicked his tongue, then started pulling his underwear down. Winnie hurriedly closed her eyes. Next, she felt his warm lips against hers. Thinking that he might be naked, Winnie was so nervous that even her teeth were shaking. Her entire body was soft.
Good girl. Wait for me.
Jeffrey smiled, then turned and headed toward the bathroom. Winnie stood there and touched the corners of her lips. Both her heart and body had never been so hot. Bad boy. She touched her mouth again, recalling what had just happened. Somehow, she felt a little pity. She couldn't believe how dirty-minded she was. Hurriedly, she took her head. Then she bent over and picked up his shirt and pants. A little box from Bulgari dropped out of his pocket. She looked at it and easily recognized it as a ring box. She picked it up and opened it. It was a diamond ring with the letter W on it. The letter was inlaid with tiny diamonds, looking exquisite and special. W was the first letters of her initials. Winnie was slightly touched. There was a note in the box. For my dearest Winnie, I hope to see you wearing it when I come out of the shower. So he did it on purpose. He purposely left his pants here for her to pick up so that she would see the ring. Winnie's heart felt unexplainably warm. It was as if she drank a cup of honey. Her whole body was ridiculously warm. When she first met him, she felt he was very annoying. It was after they had started dating that she knew. He was the type who would treat whoever he was with extremely well, so there could actually be so many surprises being with him. Even while overseas, each of these surprises were more impactful than the previous one. They moved her heart. She never even knew that dating could bring out so many different emotions. She carefully put the ring under her middle finger. The fit was just right. She suddenly remembered that a few days ago, he grabbed her hand and was measuring it. The water sound from the bathroom stopped and her heart started beating wildly. She looked at the ring on her hand and was a little nervous, also a little embarrassed. Jeffrey walked out with a towel around his waist as water dripped down his body. He wasn't especially muscular, but he didn't have an ounce of fat either. He had the lean build of a young man. Winnie's face burned as she watched, and she hurriedly passed him a shirt and pants. Go, put them on, quickly. Jeffrey didn't move but looked at her sparkling diamond ring on her hand. Her hand was already fair, and with the ring, it looked so pretty, as if it came straight out of a magazine's front page. He reached out his hand and held her wrist, pulling her with the clothes into his chest. His hand lightly caressed the ring on her hand. His lips curved up sexily. You're wearing it? Winnie glared at him embarrassedly. You prepared this especially for me. How can I not wear it?
Pretty.
Jeffrey raised his fingers and lightly kissed the ring.
As pretty as you are.
Thank you. Winnie lowered her head shyly and buried her face into his naked chest. His chest was hot, so she could still smell a faint scent of soap. It was so good that she became heady. Jeffrey was young and full of libido. How could he stand her gentle demeanor? Without another word, he lowered his head and deeply kissed the lips that he had kissed not long ago. It was as if he had tasted a delicious meal that he couldn't get enough of. The fiery kiss had Winnie's whole body tingling. With him only wearing a towel, she didn't know where else to put her hands but on his waist. Every inch of skin her hand touched made her heart race. In a daze, Jeffrey carried her onto the large bed and her cheeks blushed. While they were entangled, his towel fell. Winnie touched what she shouldn't have, and her heart raced. Your towel.
You took mine off.
Jeffrey nipped her lips gently.
You're so naughty.
I didn't. Winnie was breathless from his kiss. Those were obviously her words. He was stealing her lines.
Then why did it fall? Naughty girl.
He stole her line again. Winnie didn't dare open her eyes. She didn't want to believe that a beautiful man was lying on top of her. It was too enticing. But the beautiful man didn't seem to have plans to let her go.
You've seen all of me. Shouldn't you let me enjoy the same treatment?
Jeffrey, you're being unsporting. Winnie's face flushed as she complained.
I'm not. The proof is that I have no clothes on.
Jeffrey's lips quirked up after he said that, and he kissed her until she had no strength left. That night, that scenery, that air. Winnie was immersed in the sweetness of the ring he bought her. Jeffrey came to her aggressively, and without preparing, she let him win. Their bodies pressed tightly against each other, like two peeled eggs. Before the last step, Jeffrey finally let her go. She quickly dragged over the sheet to wrap herself up, then ran into the bathroom. Jeffrey watched her run away, giving a cute and evil smile. In the bathroom, Winnie looked at herself in the mirror. Her hair was messy, cheeks red, and lips swollen. Some kiss marks could be seen on her body. She couldn't believe the girl in the mirror was herself. If Jeffrey hadn't let her go at the last second, they might have crossed the last boundary. She didn't think they would go that far. When she decided to tell him the truth about the night they officially slept together, she had second thoughts. If she told him now, he might be angry and press her onto the bed. Winnie was too shy to even relive what happened just now. After the shower, she realized a problem. Earlier, she ran into the bathroom in a fury, without bringing any clothes. Should she wrap herself up in the sheet again and go out? She could imagine Jeffrey's gloating face. At that moment, Jeffrey knocked on the door. What? Winnie was nervous.
Your clothes. Don't you want them?
Said Jeffrey in a teasing tone. Winnie felt embarrassed. It turned out that he had noticed it too. He didn't look through her suitcase, did he? Thinking of the clothes in her suitcase, Winnie's cheeks burned. Still, she opened the door slightly and said to him, Give me my clothes. She looked outside the door. Jeffrey had already put on his pants. Her clothes were in his arms. Hearing her words, he gave a wicked smile and handed her a pair of black panties. Winnie was going crazy. Can't you give them all to me at once?
No.
Jeffrey handed her a black bra with a finger and said,
You look sexy in black.
Winnie stayed silent. She was wrong. She shouldn't have opened the door. She should just go out in the sheet. She attempted to close the door, but Jeffrey swiftly put a knee against the door. He smilingly dangled the bra in his hand and said,
Don't you want it?
Jeffrey, is this fun? Winnie glared at him, biting her lip. Her pink cheeks looked so lovely and not intimidating.
All right, I'll stop.
Jeffrey handed over her nightdress. Where is my bra? Winnie said through clenched teeth with a low voice.
I don't think you need it to sleep.
Jeffrey raised his eyebrows. The thin pink nightdress barely covered her body. Winnie was almost losing her mind. She had no idea that he would come here, so she only packed simple clothes to make the journey easier. If she knew that he would be there, she would have never packed the night dress with the shoulder straps. Will it kill you to give it to me? Winnie never found him so annoying.
It might,
said Jeffrey with an evil smile. Give it to me or I'm gonna be mad. Winnie stomped her foot. Hearing that, Jeffrey handed her the bra. Winnie glared at him, then slammed the door shut. Jeffrey looked at the door delightedly. He never noticed it before, but he now found her look adorable, even when she was angry. 5 minutes later, Winnie came out of the bathroom. She didn't look at him, but took out her skin products from her suitcase, then started her skincare process. Jeffrey quietly sat by her side. He carefully looked at every product she used and also checked all her lipsticks and foundations. What are you doing? Winnie wasn't going to talk to him, but couldn't help it. His behavior aroused her curiosity.
I'm memorizing these brands. I want to buy you the beauty products you like,
Jeffrey responded, sounding very reasonable. Winnie was slightly mad at him, but now she couldn't pretend to be angry anymore. What should she do? He could be so annoying sometimes, but so sweet other times.
This face cream's running out. I'll get some for you tomorrow. I've nothing to do anyway,
Jeffrey said with a smile.
Maybe I can get you something better. Something that can allow you to have a 20-year-old face when you turn 30.
Winnie's hands trembled slightly. She found his sweet words irresistible. Will you like me less when I'm older? I'm 3 years older than you, so I'll definitely age faster than you. Guys age slowly. After saying that out loud, Winnie really started to worry. Almost every woman worried about this, not to mention the fact that Jeffrey was younger than her.
No,
Jeffrey gently put his head against her shoulder and said,
I think you'll become even more charming when you're older. You'll be smart, wise, and sexy in your 30s, elegant in your 40s, mature in your 50s, super attractive in your 60s, and my favorite, in your 70s.
Winnie blushed as her eyes popped and her mouth opened in shock. That was the sweetest thing she had ever heard. She hurriedly turned to look at him and touched his forehead. Are you still the sharp-tongued Jeffrey, or are you possessed by some sort of spirit? Jeffrey raised his brows, took her hand off his head, and said,
My mom told me that. I guess that's what she wants for herself. She finds herself elegant now, but I don't think so.
Auntie Mel is elegant, Winnie said. Jeffrey gave a cold smile and responded with,
What did the word elegant ever do to you?
Winnie felt a little speechless. That's not a nice thing to say about your mother, she thought.
But I think what she said is what every girl wants.
Jeffrey put his arms around Winnie's waist and continued with an intimate tone, saying,
In fact, I didn't want to answer your question with words. I prefer to answer it with my whole life. I wanted to give you an answer when I'm old.
After saying that, he looked at her affectionately. Winnie couldn't stay calm and continued her skincare process. Her heart was thumping and she didn't know what to say. After all, she wasn't as good at sweet talking as he was. When his kiss landed on her lips, she closed her eyes to respond to him. Soon, she felt that her body was being lifted. Her black, shiny hair drooped loosely like a beautiful waterfall. Jeffrey carried her to the bed and said,
It's getting late. Let's sleep.
Winnie was dumbfounded. She wanted very much to ask him if he meant the normal kind of sleep or the kind that required people to get naked. She didn't have the answer until Jeffrey put her on the bed and settled her head on the pillow. It turned out to be the first kind of sleep. But why did he put his own head on the other pillow? Aren't you sleeping on the couch? Winnie asked. Jeffrey lazily closed his eyes, turned, and showed her his delicate face.
I've kissed and touched and seen almost every corner of your body. What's the point of me sleeping on the couch?
So we're sleeping together tonight, Winnie thought. Her cheeks had turned red. If she knew that, she would fight harder to guard herself and not let him kiss and touch and see her body. How was she supposed to fall asleep under such a sudden situation? Jeffrey turned off the light, then turned to her and held her in his arms. Under the quilt, he coiled his legs around hers. Winnie felt their legs entangled together. In less than 1 minute, his hand suddenly went down from her neck. Winnie froze. She said with a trembling voice, What are you doing? I need to dance and sing tomorrow. Can you please stop? If she had sex tonight, She would wake up with limp and sore limbs tomorrow. She wouldn't be able to dance, and she was already not good at dancing.
I know. Do I look like such an unthoughtful guy?
In the darkness, Jeffrey blinked his bright eyes and stared at her. Winnie stayed silent. What is your hand doing then? She thought.
Winnie, you have a really dirty mind. I'm surprised,
Jeffrey said evilly. Winnie wanted to kick him off the bed. He clasped her even tighter with his legs. She was in her nightdress. Now the dress had rolled up and their bare skin pressed tightly against each other. Winnie sensed the change of his body and didn't dare to make any other movements.
Good girl.
In the darkness, Jeffrey's voice sounded very deep, gentle, and attractive.
It's unhealthy to sleep in your bra. You might get breast hyperplasia or even breast cancer.
You're so knowledgeable, Winnie said through gritted teeth.
Sure, I read it in a book. In order to take off your bra tonight, I've Googled why women should not wear one. Finally, I found a good reason.
Jeffrey chuckled. Winnie's cheeks burned. Do you have to be so honest? She thought. Jeffrey didn't kiss her, but after taking off her bra, his hands never rested for a second. About 7 minutes later, he dove under the quilt. Winnie bit her fingers to keep herself quiet. 2 minutes later, her nightdress fell onto the carpet from the bed. She couldn't help but let weak moans escape her throat. Smiling, Jeffrey crawled out of the quilt and stared at her with scorching hot eyes.
Winnie, do you want it?
Winnie wanted to cry. Jeffrey kissed her lips quickly and said,
Good girl. Live with it, like what I always do.
Winnie felt speechless. Would a normal man ever say something like that? What a freak. Winnie used to sleep well, but that night her sleep was taken away. Being held made her feel strange. She couldn't help but twist her body a little bit. Maintaining the same posture was uncomfortable. Jeffrey guessed how she felt. He let go of her, but she still turned very carefully on the bed.
Can't you sleep?
He asked her. Winnie responded with a muffled voice. After all, she never slept with a man except for that time when she was super drunk. The man on her bed was nearly naked, and that made her nervous.
Is this your first time sharing a bed with a man?
Jeffrey chuckled. Winnie felt embarrassed.
Good girl. You'll get used to this.
Jeffrey rubbed her hair. Winnie stayed silent. He's not going to sleep with her every night, is he? She had too many thoughts in her head, so she didn't fall asleep until 3 a.m. The next day, she was woken up from a deep sleep by Jeffrey.
Baby, Bob called.
Winnie opened her drowsy eyes. She saw a pretty boy whose hair was slightly messy and his upper body was bare. He was sitting on her bed, looking at her, stroking her forehead. Her brain wasn't working at all. She thought she was in a dream. It took her a while to recall what had happened last night. She sprung up from the bed and blushed, even though the night had passed. What time is it?
9.
Jeffrey prepared her dress, then squeezed toothpaste on her toothbrush. Winnie washed up and put on the dress. She even asked Jeffrey to zip her up. At 9:30, Bob arrived. He glanced at the messy bed and the 2 pillows which were both clearly used. Winnie noticed where his eyes went, but pretended nothing had happened. Still, she felt very awkward. Bob ordered breakfast for 2 from the hotel. Winnie had breakfast together with Jeffrey, then prepared to leave with Bob. Before she left, Jeffrey went back into the bedroom and said to her,
I'll go shopping this afternoon, then fly back. I'm not flying tomorrow with you because you're going home tomorrow night anyway.
He was also a public figure now, so following her around was a little inconvenient. After leaving the room, Bob sighed.
He took a 5-hour flight here only to spend a night with you? I'm impressed. What a passionate boy in love.
Winnie was touched as well. Before, she always flew for hours to see Ben in another city. Many times, she didn't get to see him because he said that he was busy and she had to fly all the way back home. Thinking back, she realized how silly she was before. It turned out that being loved felt so great. Of course, she cherished all that Jeffrey had given her. She was once in his place. What he did touched her more deeply than it could ever touch other girls. Bob, wait here for a second. I forgot something in the room, she said. Bob paused briefly, trying to figure Winnie out. Be quick, he said. Winnie took out the card key and returned to the room. Jeffrey heard the noise from the door, so he lifted a corner of the quilt and said, Did you forget something? Yeah. Winnie walked to the bed, bent over, lowered her head, kissed him on the lips, then said, I forgot to give you a good morning kiss. Jeffrey's eyes popped. That was only a small kiss, but she rarely made that kind of romantic move. He was stunned for a few seconds. A few seconds later, he suddenly pulled her into his arms, kissed her lipstick off her lips, then put his forehead against hers, breathing heavily. My love, if you don't leave now, I might lose control of myself. When he blushed a scarlet color, she said in a low voice, Jeffrey, thank you for flying all the way here to keep me company. I thought something serious happened. Jeffrey tittered. You're my girlfriend. Isn't this what I'm supposed to do? You're right. Winnie's heart leaped slightly. I'm leaving. Be careful on your way home. Jeffrey lay on the bed and hooked her fingers with his. For a moment, Winnie wanted to abandon the rest of the world and stay in the hotel with him. As she left the room again, Bob looked after her with a mysterious smile and said, You left your heart in there, didn't you? While speaking, he handed Winnie a mirror, then pointed at her lips and said, You lost your lipstick. Winnie blushed. Bob smiled and said, I understand. I'd be touched too if my boyfriend flew all the way here to spend the night with me and brought me a ring as a gift. Winnie clenched her finger which the ring was on and said, You noticed? Of course. I'm your assistant. Don't I know what's been added to you? Bob said. But if the media and Miss Tara ask about it, you should tell them that you bought it for yourself. Winnie nodded. And did you use protection last night? Bob whispered. Can't get pregnant now. You're going to have a solo concert next year. No accidents are allowed. We didn't do it last night, Winnie responded awkwardly. No way. Bob didn't believe her. You're young and energetic. Can you possibly lie together on a bed without... We are young and innocent, said Winnie with her red cheeks. Bob sighed. Young people and pure love are rare nowadays. Winnie stayed silent. Somehow, she suddenly felt a lack of confidence about it. She had a busy day. In the afternoon, she received some messages from Jeffrey. He brought her a bag, the brand of face cream she used, and 2 lipsticks that he thought would be nice on her. Winnie felt sweet and warm. She checked his messages from time to time, her face wearing a happy smile. Bob had to remind her to manage her expression and avoid silly smiles. After the ceremony, she flew to the next location and her plane arrived in the middle of the night. She attended a fashion show, then immediately flew back to Rosewood City. It's going to be Christmas in a few days. This is the list of people who will be performing together with you. Bob handed over her phone. The list was from Director Woods. Sean, Maddie, and Leonard would all be in the show. Jennifer and Ben weren't on the list. You'll come on the stage in 3 groups. You and Jeffrey together. Bob smiled mysteriously. The TV station made this arrangement. You two look like a sweet couple, so this will be good for your popularity. Think about your selection of songs. You have to sing for real or it's going to affect your reputation. Mr. Diaz should be good at singing anyway since he has a beautiful voice. Winnie didn't respond. It turned out she wasn't the only one who had that kind of misunderstanding about Jeffrey. She returned to her flat, dropped her luggage, and planned to take a shower. Before she had a chance, her doorbell rang. Jeffrey stood at her door with some shopping bags at his feet. With discontent, he folded his arms and looked at Winnie and said, Why didn't you come to me when you came back? I wanted to take a shower first, Winnie said. How did you know that I was back? I just got in. Have you installed a surveillance camera at my door? Jeffrey glanced at her and said, I can see your bathroom from my guest room. You turned on your bathroom light once you got back. No wonder he rang her doorbell once she turned on the light. He was really fast. You haven't been staying in the guest room the whole time just to wait for me, have you? Yeah, I was reading a script in that room, said Jeffrey. Hearing that, Winnie felt warm in her heart. Don't wait for me in the guest room again. Next time I'll text you when I'm downstairs.
All right. Jeffrey threw the shopping bags on her couch and said, I got these for you in Canada.
Winnie opened the bags and saw purses, clothes, makeup, and shoes, all from luxurious brands. The gifts must have cost him over 100,000 yuan. Jeffrey, you didn't need to buy me so many things. They're too expensive. After all, you're still a student, Winnie said. I never received such expensive gifts from a man. Jeffrey opened his mouth wide and looked at her with a shocked face.
Winnie, was your last relationship even real? Ben's a popular singer. Let's not talk about his other incomes. He can earn at least 10 million by endorsing one brand. Didn't he buy you any gifts like these?
He spent a long time shopping for her gifts in Canada. He thought that Ben must have bought her some nice things and he wanted to give her something even better. What she told him was unexpected. Winnie explained embarrassedly, saying, We were both young when we first got together. We didn't have jobs or money, so we didn't buy each other many gifts. Later on, Ben got rich. He sent me gift cards sometimes. I took the small ones and rejected the ones over $1,000. As for gifts, we didn't have much chance to see each other, so we didn't send each other any big gifts. He bought me some small gifts, like necklaces, but not many. Before, Ben told her that he didn't want his company to find out about their relationship. Now, she knew that he just didn't want that so-called young mistress to find out. Jeffrey frowned slightly. He couldn't help but rub her hair and say to her,
Winnie, you're so silly. What did you like about him? I can't believe he treated you like that. Can't you be a little more materialistic? Do you know what good men are like? A poor man who's willing to give you the last $5 is good. A rich man who's willing to spend all his money on you is also good. But of course, the former won't be a good choice. Money isn't the most important thing, but why would a man be with a woman if he has no money? To drag her into a hole? To ask her to live a poor life with him? I wouldn't have pursued you if I had no money.
It was the first time Winnie heard those kind of words from a man. She was surprised. Jeffrey, you're so special, she said. Normally, guys will say to the girl they like that they work hard to earn money. Isn't that right? Jeffrey gave a cold smile and said,
That's easy to say, but hard to do. Some people work hard their whole lives but still make no money. Look at your soft hands and smooth skin. You can now use the skincare products that are worth thousands. But if you married a poor man, you might only be able to afford the cheapest kind. You can wear pretty clothes now, but with a poor man, you'd be stuck with cheap things. You'd become an unattractive middle-aged lady. If I love a girl, I wouldn't make her live a poor life with me. But of course, that's just my way.
Winnie was stunned. The two of them rarely spoke about that kind of topic. Only after hearing what he said did she learn a little about what kind of person he really was. But, Jeffrey, the way you think doesn't provide me with a sense of security, Winnie said with a low voice. You're rich and capable now, but life isn't always as right as rain. If you fell into a difficult situation, would you abandon me? Have you ever thought that even if you had nothing, I'd still be with you willingly? I don't care if I'm going to turn into an unattractive middle-aged woman or wear cheap clothes. I won't leave you for that reason, because that's not who I am. I always envy the kind of couples who share all the best of their lives and face all the hardness together too. Jeffrey's breath turned shallow. He pressed his lips together, looking at her quietly. A short while later, he nodded and said,
Winnie, you're a nice person. Ben is such a fool that he missed you. Try on the clothes I got you.
Winnie tried on everything he bought. She understood that if she refused to try them on, he might be disappointed. After that, Winnie went for a shower. After the shower, Winnie was stunned to see Jeffrey lying on her bed in his pajamas. What are you...
It's not like we never slept together before. You should have gotten used to this.
Jeffrey lazily laid under her quilt and said,
Winnie, your bed smells nice.
Winnie opened her mouth in shock. She couldn't believe that he had invaded her bedroom, only because they had slept together once. Are we living together now? Winnie stuttered to ask.
But Winnie, I think we should sleep in my bedroom, said Jeffrey. Your bed is only like 1.5 meters wide, right? It's so small and so is your room. Why don't you move into my sister's room? She's going to have a baby next month, so I think she won't come back.
Winnie didn't know what to say. He not only asked to move in with her, but it was also picky about the room. She had no plans to start living with a man by the end of the year. Jeffrey, I think I'm used to having my own independent space. I think the way we were is good.
Winnie, will you get married? Jeffrey asked.
Winnie nodded.
Since you are getting married, you'll live with someone sooner or later. You might as well get used to that in advance.
Jeffrey turned around, blinked his charming eyes, and continued with,
You see, the winter has come. The weather's getting cold. We don't have central heat in Rosewood City.
Sleeping alone is too cold. I'll warm your bed every single day.
It's not that I have to sleep with you. I'm just worried that you may catch a cold.
Winnie started wondering why Jeffrey was turning more and more shameless from a nice boy. Thank you, she said. But I got through all my winters in my life by sleeping alone. The winters in my hometown are much colder than the winters here. I never caught a cold, so I'm pretty healthy.
In this case, please warm my bed. I might catch a cold.
Jeffrey said, I'm weak. Winnie was speechless. He was a strong boy and he ate tons of snacks every day. He was not weak. It turned out that sleeping together was something that would never stop after they slept together the first time.
Winnie, you have 3 choices,
Jeffrey said.
1, sleep in my bedroom with me. 2, sleep here with me. Or 3, sleep on both sides with me.
His bossy tone made Winnie roll her eyes. She clenched her teeth and said helplessly, All right, we'll sleep at your place. You go first. I'll be there after I shower. My bed's too small for 2 people. She planned to lock her door up and not open it after he left.
All right.
Jeffrey got up from the bed and said,
Since we've agreed on us living together, I should have a key for this place.
Or it's going to be inconvenient for me. Winnie didn't respond. If she gave him a key, how would she shut him out? In fact, the landlord only gave us 2 keys. I have one and your sister has the other.
All right, give me yours then. I'll make a copy tomorrow.
Jeffrey reached out a hand towards her.
I'll give it back to you tomorrow before you come home.
Winnie stayed silent again. As she didn't respond, Jeffrey narrowed his eyes and said,
You're not trying to trick me, are you?
How can that be possible? Winnie turned and said, Forget it. Say if you want. I'm going to shower.
Make yourself clean. I'll be waiting on the bed.
Jeffrey lay back down and also pulled his pajama pants down to make himself look extra sexy and attractive. Winnie staggered slightly. She felt as if she had a pretty boy hidden in her flat now. Thinking that a beautiful man was lying on her bed, Winnie sighed during the shower. His lips would be all over her body again. What should she do? She was so tired. She barely got any rest on the plane last night. 40 minutes later, Winnie dried her hair and came out of the bathroom in a dark brown pajama suit. Hearing the noises she made, Jeffrey raised his head expectantly, but then said with disappointment,
This one's not as pretty as the one you wore yesterday. Why are you dressing like an old lady? Go and get changed.
Winnie didn't say anything. She picked the most old-style pajamas from her closet on purpose. Why should she dress sexy? She had no plans to seduce him anyway. And he talked to her in that bossy tone again. She wasn't wearing the pajamas for him. Winnie ignored him and picked up her phone. She sat down on the other side of the bed. Jeffrey moved to her, pulled her pajama top, blinked, and said,
Just get changed.
Winnie tried very hard to keep herself from kicking him off the bed. We're not in the hotel, she said. The hotel room has central air conditioning, but we don't. Plus, it was warm in Singapore. How can I wear so little here? Do you want me to catch a cold?
You're right. That's why I said we should sleep in my place. I have central air conditioning,
Jeffrey said.
We won't get a cold if we decide to do something else.
Winnie kicked him and said, Go back there if your place is so nice. I'd be happy to have some peace and quiet. Hearing that, Jeffrey finally stopped talking. Winnie sat on the bed, reading the news on her phone. Lately, the legal fight between Ben and his company had made big news in the entertainment circle. Ben appealed directly to the Seoul court, citing the company's unreasonable income distribution and accusing it of forbidding him to expand his career in America. Ben had a lot of fans in America. All his fans had been speaking for him and criticizing the company online. Jeffrey glanced at the screen on Whitney's phone, snorted, and said, "They're all like this. At first, they'd do anything the company wants as long as the company promises to make them stars. When they become stars, they all have these kind of complaints. No matter how much money the company might promise him about income distribution, he won't stay. Many TV shows and advertising agencies in the country have offered him big money." "It seems like you know everything." Whitney looked at him questioningly. Jeffrey smiled and said, "I heard from some friends that a company offered him $500 million. They're also willing to pay penalty for him to his current company." Whitney was shocked. She sighed. "He's worth so much more money than I am." "Also, the year's Best Male Singer Award that'll be presented in Hong Kong at the end of this year will probably be his. I heard that his team has been there working on it already." Jeffrey added, "The winners of this award are all decided internally. I guess Ben intended to terminate his contract with his company a long time ago. His team is very capable, which indicates that he has been secretly preparing for a long time." Winnie was a little disappointed. People no longer won prizes with their abilities. "What about me?" she said. "What award do I have?" Jeffrey turned, grinned at her, and said, "What award do you want? I'll give you anything you want." Winnie paused briefly, then smiled. "Whatever. I only want to win the awards that I truly deserve. If not, I'd rather not have it." "Winnie, you're an honest person." Jeffrey took away her phone, threw it to the side, and said, "Come on, stop reading the news about that person. Come and be with me." After saying that, he dragged her into the warm bed. "Winnie, you see, sleeping together is nice, isn't it? You're warm now." Jeffrey looked at her smilingly. Winnie wasn't acting silly. She tried to pop her head out of the quilt, yet Jeffrey dragged her back in and kissed her passionately. There wasn't much air under the quilt. She felt it was hard to breathe. Winnie finally made her way out, yet Jeffrey stayed under. He enjoyed making out with her under the covers, and he didn't want her to be cold. But this time, he did something new. Winnie couldn't stand it. Unwittingly, she put her fingers through his hair and grasped the sheet with the other hand. Many times, she thought Jeffrey was going to penetrate her. However, he didn't. Her mind was muddled when it stopped. Her skin was covered in sweat. Jeffrey looked at her red cheeks and grinned. "Look at you. We didn't even do it. I wonder what will happen when we do." Winnie wanted to cry. She honestly admired Jeffrey for his self-control. Normally, it would be the man who struggled to control himself under that kind of situation. Why was she having such a hard time now? If she hadn't had sex with him before, she would think that he might have some problems. So tired. Let's sleep." Jeffrey let out a shallow breath, then lay by her side. When he sighed, she was the one who was exhausted and felt slightly upset in an indescribable way. As she closed her eyes, Jeffrey opened his eyes with a cunning smile. He did what he did on purpose. He wouldn't have sex with her until she couldn't help but ask for it. Based on her reaction, that day would come soon. Once again, Winnie didn't sleep well. The bed was too small. She usually rolled all over the bed all night. Now Jeffrey had taken up half the bed so she couldn't even turn her body. Jeffrey slept hard. The next day, he got up and sighed. "I suddenly realized that small beds are better for couples because they can stay close to each other. Sleeping in your room is the right choice." "No, please no," Winnie cried in her heart. Let's sleep in your place tonight." Winnie gave up on fighting. "I'd like more space so I can roll on the bed." After breakfast, Winnie prepared to leave for school. Jeffrey said to her, "I've dealt with Ella. It won't affect you negatively." Winnie paused briefly and asked, "Have you found evidence?" "I watched the surveillance video. Your hands did touch her, but that can't prove anything," Jeffrey said with a smile. "Sometimes you don't need solid evidence to solve a problem. You'll know when you go to school. I've taught her a lesson." "What did you do?" Winnie was curious. "I pulled off a lock of her hair and threatened to push her off the stairs," said Jeffrey with pity.
I really wanted to push her, but I can't break the law. I told her I like you, but didn't tell her that we're already together.
Winnie was impressed. Ella was indeed evil, but she looked sweet and adorable. Other guys might not have had the heart to hurt her. However, Jeffrey pulled off a piece of her hair. Winnie had long hair too. She could imagine how that hurt. Oh, in a couple of days you'll be performing together with me. Can you please work on your singing at home? Don't drag me down, Winnie said straightforwardly. Hearing that, Jeffrey wore a sour face. He felt that he was being despised.
I've decided that I won't be singing. I'll dance.
Do you know how to dance? Winnie was stunned.
No.
Winnie was speechless. Then who gave you the confidence to even say that? She thought.
Jeffrey shrugged nonchalantly. I've seen other people dance, and I think it'll be simple.
Jeffrey curved his lips downward and said,
I saw some pretty boys twitching their limbs on the stage. People liked it.
Do you have some misunderstandings about dancing? Winnie couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Those boys you talked about, most of them have danced for years. They all work hard. They've learned all kinds of dancing, including breaking, street dancing, etc. Jeffrey blinked his eyes, then responded with,
It's okay. I'm more handsome than they are.
Jeffrey, don't you think that you're more and more like your brother-in-law? Said Winnie. You're as shameless as he is, she added in her head. Jeffrey paused briefly to think. Actually, she was right. He had seen how arrogant Aaron could be in front of April. He was younger than Aaron and as good-looking as him. So if Aaron had the right to be so shamelessly confident, he believed that he deserved to be even more confident than him.
I guess what he has is contagious,
said Jeffrey blandly. Can't you learn something good from him instead? Said Winnie.
Like what?
Jeffrey raised his eyebrows. Winnie didn't know how to answer the question. She didn't know about Aaron's good qualities, but one thing was for sure. The man was super nice to his wife. In his eyes, all women but his wife were nothing. Jeffrey was the same. He wouldn't even buy a cup of milk tea for any other woman but Winnie. Plus, he was super nice to her. I'm going to school. Winnie left. In school, some people from her department came to talk to her about Ella. She didn't know them well, so she barely listened to what they said. However, she did hear what Fallon said. Someone exposed what Ella did to Jeffrey in the school forum. She's like a stalker. You aren't the first girl who's been warned by her. A couple of girls from the directing department were warned before you. I heard that they were warned by Ella only because they had a chat with Jeffrey, sat next to him in classes, or because Jeffrey accepted the bottled water they offered while he was playing basketball. Winnie was surprised. She didn't know about those. Those were probably made up by Jeffrey. Winnie didn't know if that was true, but based on Ella's behavior, it sounded like something that she would do. Fallon continued with a low voice, saying, So, people all believe that you were framed by Ella. She's terrible. Who knows what she might do? Poor Jeffrey. He has a creepy suitor like that. Fallon, don't say that. The student who sat beside her turned around and said, Maybe there's a reason why Ella has been pursuing him so hard. What can it be? It's only her own wishful thinking, said Fallon. This kind of thing involves two people, and to be honest, she's not pretty enough for Jeffrey.
Guys and girls have different taste.
A boy laughed.
She's not as pretty as Winnie, but she's in the top 10 list of pretty girls in the acting department. The girls in their department are all pretty. She's in top 10, meaning that she's already very good looking. Earlier, I heard people say that Jeffrey drove Ella home in his sports car. If there's nothing going on between him, why would he drive her home?
That's impossible, Fallon said. Why would I lie to you?
I heard it from a friend of mine who lived in Ella's neighborhood. He's not from our school. He said that it was a silver Porsche. He recognized Jeffrey because Jeffrey's so handsome that some girls from other schools have heard about him. Many girls from other schools came here to see him.
Winnie frowned slightly as she listened. I don't believe it. Fallon curved her lips downward and said, Jeffrey is cold and proud. He rarely talks to any girls. Perhaps Ella pretended to fall to the ground in front of him and made him drive her home. It's not like that he drives her home every day.
That's probably not true. Many young boys like to pretend to be cold nowadays. They think the girls like it. You don't know what they'll do in private. The boy snorted with laughter. Take the most handsome guy from Rosewood City University as an example. He looked too high to reach, but in fact he slept with a bunch of girls in secret. No one knew about it until one of those girls got pregnant. She has had 3 abortions for him. Some girls are just too easy. A good-looking guy can get them in bed by simply saying some nice words. Shut up, Fallon said. They're not easy girls. They're just innocent. Some guys are monsters. The boy snorted and continued. I told you all this for the sake of my friend. I was trying to tell you to be careful. Don't think that all pretty boys are nice people. You don't know what they think. The class has begun. Be quiet, Winnie reminded them in a low voice. After lunch, Winnie played guitar in the music studio alone when her phone rang abruptly. It was an unknown local number. She hesitated briefly, then answered the call. Who is this? Winnie, did you block my number? Ben's voice was heard. I need to talk to you. There's nothing left to say between us. Don't call me again. I just want you to know. Winnie ended the call before he finished. That night, Jeffrey had dinner with Director Woods in the latter's company and talked about work. It was 10 p.m. when he got home. He first returned to his own flat but found it empty. He then went to Winnie's. He spent a while knocking on her door, but no one answered it. At last, he received a message from Winnie. Stop knocking, I'm so tired, I'm already in bed. Jeffrey felt speechless. He thought he would come home to see a woman lying on his bed, but it turned out that he was wrong. There was no woman on his bed, and the woman next door refused to open her door for him. This is awful, he complained silently. With no other choice, he slept in his own bedroom. Lying on the empty, large bed, he tossed and turned, feeling so cold and lonely. It suddenly popped in his mind that Aaron always posted online, so he quickly stood up and posted a selfie in his pajamas, along with the words, "The winter in Rosewood City. Cold." When he saw the post the next morning, April left her comment under the selfie. Brother, the winter in Rosewood City isn't so cold. Sylvia, the winter here is all right. I think it's your heart that feels cold. You need a girlfriend. Let me introduce you to the prettiest girl from our police station. Winnie laughed. Somehow she felt that Jeffrey's post was not as simple as it looked. He rarely posted. After Winnie washed up, Jeffrey knocked on her door. His face was full of coldness and unhappiness. I didn't sleep the night before last, so I slept early last night, Winnie explained with a low voice. She didn't tell him that it was because she felt a little uncomfortable after hearing her classmates say that Jeffrey drove Ella home. Did you sleep well? Jeffrey's face finally warmed a smile. Fine. Winnie turned and headed toward the kitchen. I didn't make porridge. I boiled 2 eggs. Just drink some milk. But I didn't sleep well, Jeffrey followed behind her. Did you see my post? Winnie turned off the heat, looked at him helplessly, and said, Get a thick quilt if you're cold. I don't need a quilt. I need a woman. Jeffrey put his arms around her waist and whispered with a soft, low voice, I need you. Ever since we slept together, I found my bed too big and too empty. Finally understand why you got such a small bed. Hearing that so early in the morning made Winnie blush. I didn't get the bed by myself, she said. Your brother-in-law brought me that bed when he bought April's bed. He said that the large bed was too expensive. He doesn't want to spend too much money on me, so he bought me a simple wooden bed. It cost him $2,000. Did you see your sister's luxurious bed made from Italian leather? That one cost $60,000. Jeffrey was speechless. Aaron was such a stingy person. No wonder that bed squeaked the other night. Thankfully, nothing really happened or the bed might have fallen apart. When he couldn't bear listening to that, a $2,000 bed wouldn't be that fragile. It's all right. I'll buy you a bed that's even better than my sister's, said Jeffrey. Forget it. My room's too small for a bed like that anyway. Winnie shook her head. Can we stop talking about beds? Let's have some breakfast. All right. Jeffrey took over the egg. Why didn't you make porridge? I want porridge. On hearing that, Winnie felt uneasy.
Do you like me or my porridge? If Ella's porridge was as good as mine, would you be with her? Jeffrey was stunned. He didn't understand why Winnie asked that question. She asked the question meaning that she cared about it. Jeffrey believed that he should answer it frankly.
I admit that I was surprised when I tasted her porridge for the first time. I wasn't expecting it to be so tasty. I was touched at the moment, and I thought about learning more about her. However, she lied to me that she made the porridge alone. I found out the truth later on. Also, she brought you trouble. She didn't leave a good impression. I felt that she was too petty and that she lies a lot. It turned out that I was right.
Winnie didn't like the answer. So if I didn't tell you the truth on accident, you might have gotten together with her already, right? After all, I've taught her how to make the porridge you like. Jeffrey glanced at her questioningly and said,
Why do you think that way? Would I be with her only because I like the porridge she made? I needed to know about her before that. The more time I spent with her, the clearer her true face became. I didn't like her. Before, she always brought me lunch in boxes and told me that she made it herself. But the truth was, she didn't make it. Her mother did. I never ate it.
Winnie frowned. She didn't know that. No wonder you disliked her so much.
I really don't like her, Jeffrey nodded and said. You see, after I learned that it was you who made the porridge, I didn't pursue you immediately. I only came here for food. I fell in love with you while having breakfast and midnight snacks with you. I slowly grew fond of you.
He dragged her into his arms and tittered in her ear.
Or probably earlier, in the elevator.
Recalling that, Winnie felt utterly embarrassed. Stop lying. That was a pure physical reaction.
That was not.
Jeffrey shook his head.
Am I an animal? It's not like I've never been in a crowded elevator or bus or subway before. But what happened that day was a first. I have feelings for you. I never liked anyone else in that way, so I didn't realize it back then. I guess you've been special to me ever since we met.
He held Winnie in his arms. Thinking about all that had happened before and hearing his explanation, she couldn't help but let her heart leap. Perhaps she shouldn't care so much about what happened before, as she had already decided to be with him. After all, the future was more important than the past.